Ever wondered what ancient treasures would say if they could speak? Welcome to Unearthed Secrets, where history's most mysterious artifacts come to life. From the book that carried the sea to the necklace that held the moon, we uncover relics that survive time and silence. Please subscribe, like the video, and tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Let's begin. The book that carried the sea. The night has its own patience, and when you settle into it, slow, quiet, weight drifting down into the bed or chair that holds you. There are stories that also wait with patience. Some of them are small as sparks, burning out in a blink. Some stretch vast, as though they had been folded away for centuries, waiting for the one moment someone would reach with steady hands and unfold them again. The book we drift toward tonight is one such story. A painted skin of history, carried across oceans, its pages remembering seas that lapped against the coasts of Mexico, and remembering too the hills and valleys inland, where kings and queens rose like constellations. The Codex Natal, though few would have called it that when it was first made, lies before us, its length folded like waves, its pigments bright even after centuries of sleep. It has been called a codex, a manuscript, a book, yet it is not a book in the way you know them. It is a sea, carried on deer hide, a tide painted in mineral blue, cochineal red, carbon black and white, that still glimmers faintly like salt at the edges. Imagine now, unfolding it, not a leaf that flips from right to left, but a long accordion that opens outward, each panel breathing into the next, so that when stretched out it could line the walls of a room. The folds are creases of memory. One side tells the lineage of kings, men whose headdresses climbed like mountains above their brows, women whose marriages threaded alliances across valleys and rivers. The other side tells the pilgrimage, the journey of the Mixtec people, their lords, their gods, their wars. And when you look at it, the figures do not stand still. They walk, step by step across the hide. They climb mountains, they bend in ritual, they sail, curiously in boats painted small as hands, boats that could never have touched the Mixtec highlands but which hint, quietly, at waters carried in memory. It is called the book that carried the sea, because in its images you can see not only the mountains and fields, but the ocean itself, shimmering like a borderland. The Mixtec people lived where the land rose into high ridges, yet their painters remembered tides. Their codex carries both. To gaze upon it is to see both land and water, earth and salt, folded together. The skin upon which it is painted, deer skin prepared, scraped, smoothed, is itself a vessel. Long ago in the 14th century, when it was painted, it was not imagined as an artifact to be shut away in glass. It was alive. It was opened during rituals. Its pictures were read aloud. Its stories were spoken into the air, becoming more than lines of pigment. It carried genealogies that gave rulers their right to rule, that tied the present to the ancestors, that affirmed the living were still tethered to the sea of spirits that flowed before them. Picture, if you will, a room in a Mixtec palace, its walls whitewashed, its roof beams hung with woven cloth. Torches crackle in clay sconces, their smoke smudging the ceiling. In the center, the book is unrolled, panel by panel, the hide softening as it bends, pigment glowing in the torchlight. Priests and nobles gather, their breath low, their eyes trained on the painted figures. A reader, perhaps not in the sense we know reading, for these were not words alphabetic but symbols, glyphs, images alive with meaning, speaks aloud. A hill with eyes is not only a hill, it is a place, a mountain known by all present, a place whose spirit still listens. A bird with jeweled feathers is not only a bird, it is a god's messenger, or the god himself, painted mid-flight. The reader's voice guides the eyes, stitching narrative across the folds. Those gathered listen not only with ears, but with memory, for they already know these stories. To hear them again is not repetition, it is renewal. One of the central figures in the codex is Lord Eight Deer Jaguar Claw. His name, when first heard, sounds like a puzzle, a sequence of numbers and animals. But within Mixtec culture, such names were the threads of identity. Children were named by the day of the ritual calendar on which they were born, paired with an emblem. Lord Eight Deer was born on the day called Eight Deer, and his sign, his identity, became forever bound to the animal's strength, endurance, and swiftness. The jaguar claw added to his title, a mark of his prowess. In the codex, he strides across panels, recognizable by his insignia, his headdress. He marries, he wages war, he travels across mountains. He is painted again and again, each image like a wave of his life breaking upon the page. Through him, you can glimpse the way time is carried differently in this book. In Western books, time is linear, marching forward from page to page. Here time is cyclical, folded, a presence that can be opened and closed at will. Unfold the book and centuries bloom before you. Not in neat sequence but in patterns, repetitions, echoes. Eight Deer appears here, and then there, as though stepping in and out of your vision. His life, His alliances, his triumphs are painted not to be read once, but to be seen many times, to be remembered in many gatherings, each retelling strengthening his presence, and as you trace the pigments, your eyes are drawn to the colors. The red, deep, almost carmine, comes from cochineal, tiny insects harvested, dried, ground, mixed with binders. The blue may come from indigo, or from a blend that has kept its vibrancy through 600 years. Black from carbon, white from lime or chalk. These pigments are not only decoration, they are the minerals of the land itself. To paint with them is to bind the earth into the story, to make the soil itself remember. And so, when the book is unrolled, it is not only memory of kings that comes alive, but memory of rivers, hills, oceans. The book is the land is the book. And in this way, it carried the sea too, not as ink upon paper, but as presence woven into pigment. Now imagine the journey the book has taken. Created in the 14th century in Oaxaca, cherished, read, unfurled in ritual, then carried into a world that changed when Spaniards arrived. The book, along with others, was gathered, taken, passed across seas. It ended in Europe, in the hands of collectors, eventually making its way into the custody of the British Museum. There it rests now, known by a catalogue name, Zuchnatl, after two of its European custodians. The name is a shell that clings to it, but within its folds, its older name still breathes, the voice of the painters who made it, the voices of the lords it depicted. When you think of it lying in a museum case, folded neatly, lit by controlled lights, its surface protected by glass, you might imagine it is asleep, and perhaps it is. Yet books like these do not truly sleep. They wait. They breathe differently than we do, slowly, their lungs made of deer hide, their pulse painted in red and blue. Anyone who leans close and lets their eyes drift along its panels may feel the gentle tug of tide, the memory of the sea still folded there. Consider the act of folding. Paper folds are fragile. Crease them too often, and they crack. But deer hide, when treated, is supple, strong, capable of bending many times. The Mixtec book folds like a body in rest, knees drawn close, chest bent. When opened, it stretches like someone waking, arms wide, spine unfurled. It is an object that mimics human gesture, and when it stretches open, it invites the reader to stretch memory with it. Each panel is a breath, each glyph is a step. In the codex, water is painted as a series of droplets, blue circles sometimes edged in white, or as streams flowing from jars, or as waves curling. To see them is to be reminded that water was sacred, water was life, and it was also a road. Though the Mixtec highlands are far from coasts, their stories remember the sea. Boats appear, small yet distinct. It is possible these boats represent not literal journeys, but symbolic ones, journeys of spirits, of ancestors. To carry the sea in a book is to admit that memory of water is never far from land. Even mountains are shaped by it, carved by ancient seas. The book remembers this, even if silently, and as you lie listening, you may feel how such a book becomes not only a record, but a companion, a listener as much as a speaker. Imagine running your fingers lightly above its painted figures, not touching, but hovering. You follow 8 deer as he climbs a hill. You drift with him as he weds a woman whose name is painted in glyph beside hers. You pause at the places where rivers are drawn, where mountains lift their green triangles into the sky. You follow, not hurried, but drifting, the way one follows a dream that has no sharp edges, only slow unfolding. And so we breathe with the book. We let it carry us across its folds. Each panel is another wave, another breath. Its sea is not violent, not crashing, but slow. A tide that lifts you gently, carries you back, lowers you again. It is a sea painted 600 years ago that still moves beneath your eyelids. In its long history, it has been rolled, carried, traded, perhaps hidden, then displayed. Yet it has not lost itself. Its pigments remain. Its deer hide still bends. It still speaks, if you listen without rushing. What it says is not only of kings and queens, though those are painted there, but of continuity, of memory, of the sea that lives in every fold. And so we let it keep speaking. The book that carried the sea, the Codex Zuchnatl, rests tonight, not far from your imagination. You can unfold it in your mind as wide as you wish. Let its painted tide wash gently across your thoughts. You do not need to remember each detail. The book remembers for you. You need only drift, carried like a small boat upon its painted sea, eyes closing, thoughts folding inward, resting as the codex itself has rested for centuries, alive, waiting, endless. The hand that held the heavens. The stones of old cities do not vanish when time moves past them. They wait, like quiet witnesses, their silence full of memory. And if you linger long enough beside them, if you walk slowly where once processions moved and voices rose in chorus, you may begin to hear something still alive, carried in the way the air folds around those stones. High above the modern streets of Amman, on the Citadel Hill, The ruins of an ancient temple stand. Its columns rise in fragments, pale against the sky, broken yet dignified. Between them, lying upon the earth as though carefully placed by a hand far greater than our own, rests a fragment of a statue. Not the head, not the torso, but a hand. 3 fingers and part of a palm, carved from limestone, weathered by sun and rain, still vast enough that each digit dwarfs the people who walk around it. This is the hand of Hercules, the surviving piece of what was once a statue so immense that even in ruin, it feels as though it still holds up the heavens. Imagine the temple as it once was. The 2nd century of our era, the rule of Marcus Aurelius, the city then known as Philadelphia, one of the Decapolis cities, prosperous, proud. The Temple of Hercules rose at the heart of the hilltop, visible from the valleys below. To climb toward it was to ascend not only in space but in meaning, to approach the domain of gods. The statue within was said to rival the grandest of the ancient world. The Colossus of Rhodes may be gone, the towering figures of Olympia long vanished. But here, in this corner of the Roman world, Hercules stood, his body vast, his arms mighty, his head gazing beyond the horizon, his hands so enormous they seemed able to grip clouds. He was more than stone, he was presence, strength, embodied in scale. To see him was to be reminded of the might of Rome and the divine power of the hero god who had labored, who had wrestled lions and borne the weight of the sky. Time, however, does what it always does. The temple fell into ruin, earthquakes shook the stones, empires rose and vanished. The statue of Hercules shattered, its fragments scattered, but the hand remained. Perhaps by accident, perhaps because it was too heavy to move, too shaped to be ignored. And so it lies still, 3 fingers gently curled, the curve of a nail still visible, the smoothness of skin still suggested though carved in rock. If you place your hand against it, you would feel small, a creature of mere bone and flesh pressing against something that once pretended to be divine. The hand alone is enough to stir imagination. How tall must the statue have been? Scholars estimate it could have risen over 12 meters, taller than most houses, taller than the temple's columns themselves, a figure meant to dominate both the hilltop and the memory of all who looked upon it. The hand suggests not only size but gesture. Was it raised in offering? Was it holding a club, Hercules' traditional weapon? Was it open to the sky, as though cradling the weight of heaven? We cannot know, but in the fragment lies freedom, the freedom to dream, to imagine, to fill in what is missing with what you most need to see. Close your eyes and walk back through time. The temple stands whole again. Its marble gleams in the sunlight. Columns march in rows, their capitals carved with acanthus leaves. Between them stands Hercules, his shoulders broad as gates, his muscles carved in such detail that you could see veins beneath the skin. Around him the people of Philadelphia gather. They bring offerings, fruits, flowers, perhaps even animals for sacrifice. Priests in white garments tend the altars, their chants rising into the air. Children tug at their parents' robes, craning their necks to see the figure towering above. For them he must seem endless, eternal, his hand larger than their entire bodies. They believe, not because they must, but because the sight before them overwhelms disbelief. This is not merely stone, this is Hercules, present among them, the protector of the city, and then drift further back, into the myths themselves. Hercules, the son of Zeus and Alcmene, born into both divinity and hardship. His labors are known, 12 impossible tasks. He slew the Nemean lion, its hide impervious to weapons, and thereafter wore its skin as armor. He captured the golden hind. Swift as the wind, he cleaned the Ogygian stables in a single day by turning rivers through them. He stole the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. He journeyed to the edge of the world to seize the cattle of Darion. And at last, he descended into Hades to bring back Cerberus, the 3-headed hound. His hands accomplished all these feats, hands that wrestled monsters, hands that gripped weapons, hands that bore burdens no other could. The hand that remains in a man is a fragment, but in it you can still see the echo of those mythical labors. It is a reminder that strength was once imagined larger than life, carved into stone to inspire and to endure. The wind on the Citadel Hill carries more than dust. It carries the murmur of languages long gone, Greek, Latin, Aramaic, Arabic, each layered upon the other. The stones have heard them all. The hand has felt the shadows of each. At times, prayers. At times, silence. At times, only the sound of the wind curling between columns. If you walk there at dusk when the city below flickers with lights and the sky deepens to indigo, the hand seems almost alive. Its fingers glow faintly in the fading sun. Its shadow stretches long, as though still reaching for something. Consider what it means to see only a hand. The head would have revealed expression, fierce, calm, triumphant. The body would have revealed posture, standing tall, striding forward, or at rest. But the hand is gesture without face. It invites interpretation. In every culture, hands speak. An open hand means welcome, or surrender. A closed fist means power, a raised hand means stop, or oath. Hercules' hand, even broken, even fragmentary, still speaks. To some it seems protective, to others it seems commanding, to others still it seems simply immense, a relic of impossible scale. The limestone itself bears the passage of centuries. Rain has softened its surface, wind has smoothed its curves, sun has bleached its color, yet it endures. Stone always does. Empires fall, languages vanish, people forget, but stone waits. It crumbles slowly, reluctantly. To stand before the hand is to stand before patience itself. Now think of the workers who carved it. Men with chisels, hammers, ropes. They stood beside blocks of limestone taller than themselves, slowly shaping them. Dust coated their hair, their clothes. Hours turned to days, days to months, as detail emerged. A fingernail, curved just so, the crease of a knuckle, the smoothness of a palm. To carve a statue so large required not only skill but vision, to imagine the whole while working always on the part. Did they know, as they worked, that the hand alone would one day survive them all? That centuries later, people would gaze not at the statue complete, but at their detail, their carving, their fragment? Perhaps not. But perhaps the stone knew. And what of the worshippers? A woman comes with her son. She carries bread in a woven basket, an offering. She kneels, places it before the altar, raises her eyes to Hercules. Her son stares not at the offerings, not at the priests, but at the hand. He whispers to his mother, "How can something so large exist?" She smiles, says nothing, only bows her head. The boy will grow into a man, will see the statue many times, will walk past it when he is old. And perhaps in his final years, when earthquakes topple columns and the statue begins to crumble, he will remember not its full form but always the hand that seemed to him as a child capable of holding the sky itself. Stories cling to ruins differently than they cling to intact monuments. An intact statue tells you what it is, what it wants to be. A fragment invites you to imagine. The hand of Hercules is not merely ruin, it is invitation. It invites every visitor to complete it in their own mind. For some he holds his club, for others he holds an apple from the garden of the Hesperides. For still others he holds nothing, his hand open to the heavens, cradling only the sky. Each imagination adds to the statue, makes it whole again for a moment. And then, when the visitor leaves, the statue crumbles once more into fragments, until the next set of eyes restores it again in thought. At night, when the citadel is quiet, when the city below hums with distant traffic and the stars prick the sky, the hand seems almost to shift. Shadows pool between its fingers. The air cools upon its stone. Perhaps in those hours, Hercules returns, not in body, but in presence. Perhaps his labors continue unseen. Perhaps the hand still holds the weight of heaven, unseen but felt, balancing the sky above the city. And so, as you drift deeper, think of that hand, not only as stone, but as metaphor. The hand of a god, the hand of a statue, the hand of every person who has lifted, built, carried, protected. Your own hands, resting now, carry echoes of it too. You have held burdens, light and heavy. You have built, you have worked, you have reached. The hand of Hercules is immense, but it is also kin to your own. It reminds you that strength is not only in gods and heroes, but in the act of holding, of reaching, of carrying what must be carried. The temple may lie in ruins, the statue may be gone, but the hand remains, and in it all the echoes of time. The hand that once held the heavens, and perhaps still does. Silently, patiently, night after night, century after century, stone upon stone, sky upon sky. The gate that waited for kings. The desert breathes in a long, slow sigh across the plateau, where wind moves like an unseen tide over stone and dust. Here, in the wide embrace of the Zagros foothills, there stands a gateway that seems to wait not merely for visitors, but for rulers, for conquerors, for the slow procession of centuries themselves. The Gate of All Nations, they call it now. A title given long after its builders had passed, when only the bones of their vision remained to whisper in the wind. But even before such names, even before scholars leaned close to decipher the lines of its meaning, the stones themselves bore their own patient identity, the threshold through which kings once walked, and through which silence now reigns. Approaching from the plain, one sees the outline rise like a mirage, great columns reaching upward, squared towers shouldering the weight of time, and sculpted guardians who seem more alive in their brokenness than they might have been in their full perfection. The light touches them gently, morning after morning, sunset after sunset, and each shadow seems to move like a memory across their faces. The air carries faint scents of dust warmed by centuries of sun, mixed with the faint mineral tang of weathered stone. It is the kind of air that feels older than breath, as though it had been exhaled by forgotten mouths, kings and servants alike, long before the present wanderer draws near. Step closer, and the size of it begins to press upon you. The columns, some still upright, some shattered, and lying like fallen giants, mark the entrance with a solemn geometry. Their capitals once flourished with carvings of bulls and griffins, wings unfurled as if to lift the lintels into the sky itself. The towers at either side, massive and square, bore reliefs of guardians, colossal figures that blend man and beast, their stone eyes gazing outward with a patience beyond mortality. They are not merely decoration, they are sentinels, carved to stand eternal watch, their silence as commanding as any spoken decree. Imagine the day when the gate was new, when sunlight glinted off polished stone and paint still clung bright to its carvings. For the Persians did not leave their works in the naked stone as we see them now. They clothed them in color, in deep reds, lapis blues, shining gold that caught the sun and dazzled the eye. Travelers approaching then would not have seen ruins softened by time, but a vision so radiant that it seemed almost alive. The bulls at the threshold would gleam, the wings of the guardians spread in painted brilliance, and the very columns themselves might have seemed like beams of frozen fire holding the heavens aloft. And into this gate came kings. Xerxes himself, they say, the son of Darius, who ordered the construction. Before him, his father had dreamed of Persepolis as a ceremonial capital, a place not for battles but for tribute, for ceremony, for the gathering of nations under Persian dominion. Here, at the heart of empire, emissaries from lands as far as the Aegean, the Indus, and the Nile would arrive with gifts and oaths of loyalty. They would step through this gate, pass under the stone gaze of immortal guardians, and enter a world choreographed to impress upon them the immensity of Persian power. The gate of all nations was more than architecture, it was theater, ritual, a threshold between the ordinary and the realm of kings. Its very name, bestowed in later centuries but echoing the same spirit, speaks of universality, of dominion over peoples and lands far beyond the horizon. Standing before it even now, one senses this gravity. The emptiness around it is vast, but the gate itself carries the weight of countless footsteps, countless gazes lifted in awe or bowed in obedience. Yet the gate waits still, long after those kings have gone. Its guardians, chipped and weathered, continue their silent watch. They have witnessed triumphal processions. They have seen the blaze of Alexander's conquest when flames swallowed Persepolis. They have stood through earthquakes and centuries of abandonment. And still they stand, though the city they once opened into is a forest of broken columns and tumbled stones. The wind threads through the gaps where roofs have collapsed, carrying whispers as though from another time. If one stands quietly, eyes half closed, one can almost hear the faint sound of footsteps on flagstones, the murmur of voices in tongues from every corner of the empire, the metallic glint of tribute carried in procession. The gate seems to remember, even if the world beyond it forgets. Consider the hands that shaped this stone. Craftsmen from across the empire were gathered here, skilled in carving, in lifting, in joining massive blocks into harmony. Some came from Babylon, some from Lydia, others from Egypt, each bringing their traditions, their artistry, their sweat to the vision of the Persian kings. They left behind not merely stone, but a record of cooperation, of empire woven into architecture. The gate was not merely Persian, it was the work of many nations, all drawn into the gravity of an imperial dream. The guardians, colossal and calm, may remind one of Mesopotamian Lamassu, winged bulls with human faces that once stood in Assyrian palaces. But here, under Persian hands, they took on new proportions, new meaning. They are both protective and ceremonial, not only warning away evil, but embodying the unity of empire, as though to pass beneath their wings was to step into a space blessed and bound by order. Each chisel mark, each smooth plane of stone, was a prayer to endurance, and endurance they have achieved. Yet endurance is not eternity. One imagines the night when flames rose above Persepolis, when Alexander's soldiers, drunk with victory and wine, set torches to the halls. The gate must have glowed with the reflected fire, its guardians bathed in red light, their shadows leaping as though alive. Did they seem to resist, to hold their ground while the world they guarded was devoured by flame? Did their stone eyes reflect sorrow, or did they remain as impassive as ever, uncaring for the ruin of kings? Whatever the truth, the gate survived while roofs fell and treasures melted. Its towers bore the scorch of conquest, but endured, waiting still, as though the act of passing beneath them remained necessary, even for those who came to destroy. Time softened the fire's scars. The ruins slept beneath layers of dust, visited only by wanderers, shepherds, pilgrims who scarcely knew the names of those who built it. Centuries folded over centuries. Empires rose and fell, and still the gate remained, its guardians worn but unyielding. When scholars at last came in modern times, brushing away debris, measuring stone by stone, they found not merely ruins, but a doorway into the imagination of an empire. Through this gate, they realized, the Persians had staged a ritual of universality, declaring themselves rulers not merely of lands but of worlds. To stand before it now is to feel time stretched thin. The silence is immense, yet filled with echoes. The columns rise like frozen music, the towers like watchful sentinels, and the open sky above serves as the roof that no conqueror could burn. The traveler who lingers here feels both small and immense, diminished by the scale, yet expanded by the history that breathes through each stone. The gate of all nations, the gate that waited for kings, has become a gate that waits for memory, for recognition, for the slow reverence of those who come to stand where the great once stood. It asks nothing but patience, the patience to stand still, to listen to the silence, to let the imagination step through its shadowed threshold and into a world both lost and still present. And as the wind curls around the carved bulls, as light fades and stars begin to prick the sky, one feels that the gate continues its watch, not only for kings but for time itself. It is a hinge upon which centuries turn, an opening that leads not to chambers or palaces but into the vast corridors of memory. And memory, like stone, waits long. The stars gather like embers, strewn across the velvet dark, and the gate seems to shift beneath them, not moving in body, but deepening in presence. Columns and towers turn into silhouettes, their massive forms outlined against a sky that itself has seen every rise and fall. The wind hums through gaps in the stone like a voice too ancient to be understood, yet somehow comprehended all the same. To linger here in night is to feel that the gate has never truly emptied. Though the kings are gone, though the processions have ceased, something continues to pass through, unseen yet eternal. The weight of history itself. Step closer in imagination, and you might hear them again. Footfalls upon polished stone, the shuffle of sandals from Egypt, soft leather boots from Anatolia, calloused feet hardened by the roads of India, each emissary carrying gifts, each unsure of what awaited beyond the threshold, each measuring their own smallness against the immensity of empire. They came not merely to pay tribute, but to acknowledge the vastness of something greater than themselves. And the gate welcomed them with equal indifference, whether king, servant, or conqueror. All who passed beneath its guardians were equal before stone. It is strange to consider how stones outlast flesh. Xerxes, who commanded the gate's building, is dust now, his voice gone, his empire reduced to words and books. Yet the carvings of his will remain, weathered but persistent. Even Alexander, whose fury set fire to the halls, is reduced to memory, his victories scattered into legend. The gate, though broken, stands as though mocking them all. You passed through me. I remain. Perhaps this was the truest ambition of its builders, to create not merely a stage for ceremony, but an enduring presence that would outlast the very kings it celebrated. In that they succeeded beyond imagining. For while nations have come and gone, while borders have shifted and names have faded, still the gate of all nations waits, steady as the mountains behind it, open to the sky above. Let us wander deeper into its imagined past. The year is new, springtime in Persia, when the festival of Nowruz brings with it renewal, offerings, celebration. From across the empire they gather, emissaries bearing gifts for the King of Kings. Gold from Lydia, lapis from Sogdiana, ivory from India, fine linens from Egypt, spices from Arabia, all are carried with reverence through the gate. Imagine the colors, fabrics bright against the pale stone, metals gleaming in sunlight, perfumes wafting into the dry desert air. The procession is slow, deliberate, measured, each step echoing against columns that rise like the trunks of impossible trees. Above them the guardians look on, vast and immovable, wings unfurled, muscles carved with precision, their faces a strange blend of human and beast. They neither smile nor frown, yet their presence fills the space with a quiet authority. Those who pass beneath their gaze must have felt a shiver, a subtle awe, as though stepping from one world into another. It was not just a gate but a rite of passage, a ceremonial crossing that reshaped those who entered. And beyond the gate lay Persepolis, jewel of the empire. Terraces rising, halls supported by forests of columns, reliefs carved with the tribute of nations. The Apadana, vast hall of audience, where the king received his emissaries. The treasury, heavy with the wealth of worlds. The palaces of Darius and Xerxes, adorned with images of kings seated in majesty, attendants beside them, order flowing outward in stone lines. To enter here through the gate of all nations was to step into the heart of Persian identity. The vision of empire cast not in conquest alone, but in unity, in the gathering of many beneath one. But let us return to the gate itself, for it is the threshold that endures, the place where worlds meet. Consider the craftsmanship. Stones cut so precisely they joined without mortar, fitted like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. The columns, fluted and tall, crowned with capitals of bulls and griffins whose wings bore the symbolic weight of heaven. Reliefs etched into the towers, now worn, once clear with detail that told of divine guardianship and imperial grandeur. Each line carved with purpose, each figure chosen with care. This was not mere decoration, but language in stone. Over time, however, language fades, paint crumbles, details erode, stories blur. The guardians' faces, once sharp, are softened now, their expressions indistinct. Wings are chipped, bodies scarred by centuries of wind and rain, and yet, even in their ruin, they command attention. There is something haunting about a face half lost to time, something that suggests not weakness but endurance. The gate does not need perfection to be powerful. Its brokenness speaks as eloquently as its completeness once did. Night deepens, and with it imagination stretches further. Suppose the gate could speak, what would it say? Perhaps it would recall the footsteps of Xerxes himself, heavy with authority, echoing as he inspected his ceremonial capital. Perhaps it would murmur of the hum of voices, the sound of translators bridging tongues, the rustle of robes, the creak of carts bearing tribute. Perhaps it would sigh with memory of fire, of shouts, of the crackle of burning roofs, the screams of those caught in conquest. Or perhaps it would say nothing at all, content to bear silence as its truest companion. Silence, after all, is its gift. To stand here today is to be enfolded in a quiet so deep it feels alive. The plain stretches outward, vast and empty, broken only by distant hills. The city is no longer bustling, it is ruin, and ruins speak most eloquently through stillness. The gate stands as though frozen in waiting, its guardians patient, its columns unyielding, its towers resigned. One might almost believe that if one waited long enough the procession would return, that kings and emissaries would once again pass beneath its shadow. But time does not reverse. Time only accumulates, and so the gate gathers centuries as it once gathered nations. It becomes a vessel not of power but of memory. Each visitor who comes, each scholar, each wanderer, adds another layer to its meaning. It becomes a gate not only of nations but of generations, each stepping through in their own way, carrying their own stories, leaving behind their own whispers. The gate of all nations, the gate that waited for kings, is now the gate that waits for us. It waits for recognition, for reverence, for the slow listening of those who know that ruins are not empty but filled with presence. To walk here is to pass through more than stone. It is to step into the lingering breath of empire, into the shadow of history, into the patience of time itself. And so it endures, beneath sun and star, beneath wind and silence, beneath the unending passage of days. Kings may rise, kings may fall, empires may blaze and vanish, but the gate waits still. Its guardians keep their vigil, its columns shoulder the sky. Its towers frame a threshold, not into halls or palaces, but into the boundless corridors of memory. And memory waits with them, as faithful as stone, as enduring as the heavens above. The ring that spoke in silence. The ring was small, so small in fact, that it could sit in the palm of a hand and be mistaken for nothing more than a trinket. Yet it carried within it an image so impossibly detailed, so whisper-thin in its carving, that the eyes of the modern world almost refused to believe it. They called it the Pylos combat agate, though in truth it was no agate at all, but a hard stone of creamy surface, set into a ring that once circled the finger of a man who lived and died more than 3,000 years ago. And when it was uncovered, after a silence that lasted longer than memory, the world seemed to lean in closer, straining to hear what it was trying to say. The story begins in the warm soil of southwestern Greece, in the ancient land of Pylos. It was the year 2015 when a team of archaeologists, brushing away the dust of centuries, uncovered what would come to be known as the Griffin Warrior's Tomb. It was not a grand palace or a towering fortress, but a single shaft grave, deep in the earth, its stones carefully laid, its treasures hidden in stillness. Inside lay a skeleton, once strong, once upright, now long dissolved into the silence of bone. Around him were the artifacts of wealth and power, bronze weapons, delicate jewelry, ivory combs, golden cups, and among them, overlooked at first, was a lump of hardened dirt, no larger than a thumb, that seemed of little consequence. For months it remained unnoticed, sitting in trays and boxes, catalogued but unremarkable. Only when careful cleaning began did the ring emerge, shining faintly under the dust, its surface marked with the faintest scratches. And then, under a microscope, its true image appeared, an engraving so astonishing that it seemed to defy the hand of the ancient world. It was a battle scene, a warrior, poised with sword in hand, driving the blade into the neck of an armored opponent. Another foe lay fallen, his shield cast aside. The muscles of the fighters were rendered with delicate precision, each curve, each tendon, each fold of cloth and strand of hair captured with such care that modern scholars blinked in disbelief. The entire scene measured less than 4 centimeters across, so small that the naked eye could hardly register it. And yet, under magnification, it looked as if it had been painted in miniature brushstrokes, each line alive with motion, with violence, with breath. What astonished the world was not simply the artistry but the impossibility. For this was the 15th century before Christ, an age when bronze tools shaped stone, when illumination came from oil lamps and the flicker of fire. No magnifying lenses are known to have existed in that age, no instruments delicate enough to carve such precision. And yet, here it was. A ring that spoke not in words but in silence, whispering through the centuries, telling of a skill we could scarcely imagine. The Griffin warrior's ring, like the man himself, was a bridge between two worlds. The Mycenaeans, who would rise to dominate mainland Greece, and the Minoans, whose island civilization on Crete glimmered with art and myth. The imagery of the stone bore the fluid grace of Minoan design, yet it was found in a Mycenaean grave. Perhaps the warrior had taken it as plunder, or been gifted it in alliance. Perhaps it was a token of victory, or a symbol of belonging to both realms. No one can say. But the silence of the ring holds more power than the speculation of words. It remains still, unanswerable. Imagine, for a moment, the hand that wore it, strong, calloused, wrapped around the hilt of a sword or the reins of a chariot. This was no ornament for idle beauty. It was a sign of identity, a seal pressed into clay, a mark that said, "Here I stand, here is my authority, my belonging, my place in this shifting world of kings and warriors." When the Griffin warrior pressed the ring into soft wax, the figures of the battle scene came alive once more, etched into documents that are lost, into agreements and promises that dissolved like smoke into time. Each press, each impression carried forward the image of struggle and triumph, even as the centuries erased the man who held it. And yet the silence of the ring deepened. For 3,500 years it lay buried, the soil pressing against it, seasons passing in their endless rhythm. Empires rose and fell, languages were born and died, temples were built and abandoned, and still the ring waited. Its warriors stood frozen mid-strike, its swords hovered forever in the moment before death, silent, unyielding, patient. When at last it was seen again, scholars wondered at the meaning of its silence. Was it an image of myth, of some forgotten hero whose tale was sung in Minoan courts and echoed across Aegean waters? Was it simply a record of battle, a vision of the clash that defined the Bronze Age world, where kingdoms vied for power and ships carried warriors across the sea? Or was it something else, something older and quieter, a meditation on the human condition, victory, defeat, the eternal motion of struggle? The ring, of course, gives no answer. It speaks only in silence, in the stillness of its carved lines, in the shadows of its microscopic figures. To hold it is to feel the weight not only of gold and stone, but of time itself, pressing down, reminding us that the ancient world was not simple, not primitive, not crude. It was subtle, delicate, capable of wonders beyond our expectations. Some whisper that the ring may be more than just a masterpiece, that it may hint at knowledge lost, optics, magnification, tools beyond what we imagine existed. Did the craftsmen of Crete or Pylos peer through lenses of crystal, bending light to see the minute details? Did they develop methods that vanished with them, swallowed in the collapse of the Bronze Age world? Or was it simply the patient hand of an artisan, guided by practice, by focus, by a devotion so deep it bordered on the sacred? Silence again, no answer, only the ring, and the figures forever locked in their endless clash. Even now, as it rests in careful preservation, the Pylos combat agate seems less an artifact than a riddle. When magnified, its warriors look alive, their muscles taut, their eyes alight with fury. Yet the moment you step back, it all vanishes into a blur, a smudge on stone. To truly see it is to draw close, to peer into its depths, to listen carefully to what it does not say, and perhaps that is its truest gift, not in revealing its secrets, but in reminding us of silence itself, the silence of the grave, the silence of forgotten stories, the silence of art that waits patiently for the right eyes to rediscover it. In that silence, the ring still speaks, softly, insistently, across millennia. And so, the Griffin warrior sleeps, his hand empty, his bones long still. But the ring endures, the battle it carries never ends, the figures never fall, they remain poised, frozen, speaking in the language of silence, carrying forward a message we cannot quite understand, a message not of words, but of wonder. The ring that spoke in silence will continue to whisper, whether we listen or not. The chalice that carried no wine. The chalice lay waiting in silence, buried beneath the layers of dust and time, in a place where history itself seemed to breathe slowly through stone and earth. Antioch, the city of crossroads, once glittered with marble, mosaics, and the constant hum of life. Traders, pilgrims, and conquerors passed through its streets, carrying the spices of Arabia, the silks of the East, the gold of distant lands. It was a city where empires collided, and every stone whispered of power, devotion, and ambition. And there, hidden among the relics of forgotten sanctuaries, resting where no hand had disturbed it for millennia, the chalice waited. It was small, modest at first glance, yet perfectly balanced in proportion. Its rim, smooth and unbroken, curved gently like the mouth of a river ready to spill its contents. Yet inside, it held nothing. Not wine, not water, not any libation of earth or sky. The surface bore faint engravings, delicate and precise, which hinted at stories long lost. Grapevines, intertwined with abstract symbols, circled the cup, their leaves frozen in a moment of perpetual growth, unbent by wind or hand. Tiny figures marched along the vines, soldiers and dancers, priests and worshippers, all rendered with such care that the chalice seemed almost alive, a vessel not merely of function but of memory. The hand that shaped it must have known patience beyond our understanding. Each line was measured, each curve deliberate. The craftsmen of Antioch were masters of the subtleties of bronze, silver, and clay. Yet even they, working with skill honed over decades, could scarcely have imagined that this chalice would survive war, earthquake, fire, and decay for 3,000 years. And yet it did. Buried under rubble and soil, untouched by human interference, it kept its vigil, waiting for the moment when the modern eye could see it and wonder. To hold it, one feels not the weight of emptiness, but the gravity of history. It is as if the chalice has absorbed the world around it. The chatter of ancient streets, the solemnity of temples, the clatter of armies passing through city gates. Every silence it has known is accumulated in its metal. Every glance of worshippers, every touch of hands pressing offerings to its rim. And though it carries no wine, no visible nourishment, it holds the essence of time itself. Imagine the ceremonies that once surrounded such a vessel. Priests, their robes swaying with ritual, might have held it aloft, not to pour liquid, but to invoke presence, to honor the unseen. Perhaps they prayed to gods whose names have been lost, chanting in languages that no longer exist, their voices rising and falling like wind through the columns of a long-gone temple. And the chalice, still and silent, drank nothing but the air itself, absorbing devotion, hope, and the faint, lingering scent of incense that has long since vanished. Time moves differently in objects such as this. The chalice survived invasions that toppled thrones, fires that reduced libraries to ash, earthquakes that shattered the foundations of Antioch itself. In the 10th century, crusaders stormed the city, seeing glory and conquest where once there was commerce and faith. The chalice remained, buried under rubble, unnoticed, patient. In the 16th century, sultans and merchants alike would walk over the soil where it lay, unaware of the delicate artistry beneath their feet. And still, it waited, silent, perfect in its emptiness. When at last it was uncovered in modern times, the world seemed to hesitate before it. Scholars leaned close, brushes in hand, hearts steady but breath caught in awe. Its surface was unbroken. Every engraving was intact. The tiny figures traced along its sides were visible under magnification, each telling a story: warriors in formation, dancers mid-step, priests in ritual procession. The more one looked, the more one realized that the chalice was not merely an object but a library of human movement, a chronicle of devotion frozen in bronze or silver. And yet perhaps the most mysterious aspect was its silence. It bore no inscription to explain its purpose, no dedication, no offering. It carried no wine, no liquid of ritual, and no sign of decay or residue to hint at centuries of use. Scholars debated endlessly. Was it ceremonial, symbolic, or protective? Was it a gift from a king to a temple, from a temple to a warrior, from a patron to a priest? Or was it something else entirely, a meditation on stillness, on the quiet that endures beyond all human claim? Consider the hands that made it. They moved with certainty, guided by tradition, ritual, and perhaps intuition. Each line carved or pressed into its surface was a statement of presence, a mark of care. The chalice was not a mass-produced object. It was unique, a testament to patience, skill, and vision. The artist or priest who shaped it must have imagined something beyond themselves, something that would outlast kings, cities, and empires. And in that they succeeded. For here it remains, untouched by modern hands, speaking across millennia in silence. The city around it, Antioch, is itself a ghost of its former self. Its streets, once bustling, now carry echoes of horses and carts, of merchants calling prices, of children laughing along cobblestone lanes. Palaces have fallen, temples have crumbled, and yet beneath the layers of time, the chalice lay, hidden from sight, keeping its own vigil. To think of it is to imagine the patience of stone, metal, and memory, all converging in a small vessel, seemingly insignificant, yet containing the weight of centuries. The emptiness of the cup is not lack, it is a fullness of presence. One can close their eyes and imagine the sound of air passing through it, of faint vibrations from footsteps above, the whisper of dust settling, the faint hum of life long gone. Each observation, each moment of awareness, adds to its quiet accumulation of history. The chalice becomes a vessel not of liquid, but of experience itself. And so we return to silence, to the understanding that some objects endure not because of grandeur or wealth, but because of quiet resilience. The chalice could have been lost, melted down, repurposed, forgotten. Yet it survived, waiting for eyes that could appreciate not its use, but its presence. It carries with it the stories of Antioch, of kings and priests, of devotion and artistry, compressed into a vessel that asks nothing of the world but acknowledgement. Even now, as one imagines holding it, as one brushes away the centuries in thought, there is a sense of stillness, a calmness that comes from recognizing continuity across time. The chalice does not hurry. It does not speak loudly. It does not demand attention. It exists, and through its existence, it teaches patience, reverence, and the beauty of quiet endurance. Time can destroy cities, topple empires, and erase languages, yet the chalice remains, and in this realization, there is a comfort, a slow rhythm that matches the heartbeat of those who pause, who notice, who listen. The chalice that carried no wine is more than metal and engraving. It is the embodiment of patience, of memory, of the quiet persistence of human effort across ages. It asks only that one linger, that one imagine the ceremonies that never reached our ears, the hands that shaped it with care, the devotion poured into its silence. And as one lingers, the past feels close, almost tangible, brushing lightly against the present. One can imagine the faint scent of incense, the flicker of torchlight on bronze, the murmured chants of worshippers long gone, all converging in the empty space of the chalice. And as night falls over the hills of Antioch, as stars wheel slowly across the sky, the chalice continues its vigil. It does not tire, it does not fade. Its emptiness is not void but fullness. It carries within it the weight of time, of devotion, of artistry, and of human presence. And in that carrying, in that quiet persistence, it speaks louder than words ever could. The chalice that carried no wine waits still, patient, silent, enduring. It is not merely a relic of a forgotten city. It is a reminder of the beauty that persists beyond attention, the elegance that endures without acclaim, the power of patience, and the quiet voice of history that whispers through stone, metal, and air. As the centuries moved forward, Antioch changed, shifted, and transformed. It became a crossroads not only of trade, but of faiths, of cultures, of empires rising and falling like the tide upon the Mediterranean. Romans walked its streets, their sandals echoing against mosaic floors. Byzantines rose, layering churches upon temples, carving crosses where symbols of old gods once glimmered in the sun. Yet beneath these layers, beneath the weight of new rulers and new beliefs, the chalice remained, untouched, a quiet sentinel to the city's transformations. Imagine the priests and worshippers of a long-lost era, moving through temples fragrant with incense, their fingers brushing offerings along the rim of a vessel that held no liquid, yet carried everything. Each movement, each breath, each whispered prayer pressed upon it, entering the silent memory of metal and bronze. Perhaps they saw not emptiness but completeness, a reflection of the unseen divine that filled all spaces, a symbol of reverence that needed no wine to be holy. Over time, Antioch endured earthquakes, fires, and sieges. Each catastrophe left its mark, yet the chalice survived, shielded by the very obscurity that threatened lesser objects. Buried beneath collapsing roofs and layers of soil, it slept through centuries, a tiny anchor of continuity. Travelers, conquerors, and artisans came and went above its resting place, unaware of the miracle beneath their feet. Kings, generals, and merchants may have walked streets now reduced to rubble, never imagining that such a delicate object had endured through it all, silently witnessing the march of time. And then, when the modern era arrived, with its tools of meticulous excavation and preservation, the chalice was rediscovered. The archaeologists handling it were careful, knowing that beneath the centuries of soil lay something extraordinary. Brushes swept away dust and debris with reverence, revealing not only the chalice's shape, but the fine artistry etched along its sides. Tiny figures, almost imperceptible to the naked eye, engaged in scenes of celebration and ritual, their expressions frozen yet full of vitality. One could imagine them dancing, praying, or moving through a sacred rite, their presence captured forever in metal. It was in this silence that the chalice revealed its deepest mystery. Scholars and historians, peering at the engravings, realized that the object spoke not in words but in subtle narrative. Its scenes were neither simple nor decorative. They were deliberate, meaningful, and precise. Warriors, dancers, and priests formed a story whose meaning might have been clear to those who once lived with it, but has now been lost to time. The chalice, however, remained faithful to its purpose, to convey presence, devotion, and memory through the enduring quiet of its form. Holding the chalice, one feels a connection to the generations long gone. It is as though the hands that shaped it, the hands that held it, and the eyes that witnessed its use are all gathered in this small object. The silence it carries is not emptiness, but a fullness of presence. The quiet tells of rituals long abandoned, of devotion maintained without expectation of reward, of skill exercised not for recognition, but for reverence and perfection. And yet, as the chalice emerged into the light of the modern world, it carried another message as well. It reminded us of the fragility and resilience of culture, the ways in which human creativity persists against the odds. Empires fall, cities burn, and languages vanish. Yet objects like this endure. They are the true witnesses, the silent chroniclers who outlast the voices that once commanded them, outlast the people who prayed over them, outlast the kings and generals whose power was fleeting. In that endurance lies a lesson. Patience, observation, and quiet are as powerful as action, as loud as conquest. The chalice waits for attention, yet it does not demand it. Its beauty and complexity reveal themselves only to those who linger, who examine, who allow themselves to enter its stillness. In a world that moves quickly, it reminds us that some of the most profound truths exist in the slow, in the unnoticed, in the quiet accumulation of experience over centuries. Consider the imagined moments of its original use. Perhaps a priest raised it before the altar, voice intoning the sacred sounds of the age, body swaying in a rhythm as old as the city itself. Light from oil lamps flickered across its surface, illuminating the delicate engravings. Fingers brushed the rim with care, not to drink but to honor, not to consume but to witness. Perhaps the ritual was repeated countless times, each repetition embedding the energy of devotion into the chalice itself. And in these repeated ceremonies, the chalice absorbed more than sight or touch. It absorbed the very rhythm of life, the rise and fall of breath, the cadence of footsteps on polished floors, the rustle of fabric in movement, the soft murmurs of voices in prayer. When all else faded, when walls crumbled and altars toppled, the chalice remained. Its silence became its language, a repository of sensory memory, a vessel of human attention across generations. Over the centuries, Antioch became contested ground. Romans, Byzantines, Arabs, Crusaders, and Ottomans each left traces upon the land. Fires consumed markets, earthquakes shattered columns, and yet the chalice remained, cradled in the earth, untouched. It was a witness to the impermanence of power and the persistence of craft. Each epoch added layers of dust, each layer a soft shroud, insulating it from the turbulence above. And beneath the soil, the tiny figures along its rim continued their silent rituals, never ceasing, never aging. The rediscovery of the chalice was like hearing a whisper across time. Scholars marveled at its artistry, the fidelity of its engraving, the narrative compressed into such a small, fragile object. It spoke of a civilization that valued subtlety, precision, and devotion. It spoke of artisans who could capture life and ritual in miniature, who worked not for fame but for eternity. And in its silence, it spoke of patience, of waiting, of endurance beyond measure. The chalice is not merely an object, it is a bridge. Between past and present, between artisan and observer, between devotion and understanding. To hold it, or even to imagine holding it, is to feel the centuries compress into a single breath. The patterns along its rim, the tiny figures frozen in motion, the smooth empty surface, all converge into a meditation on continuity. Time is not absent in this chalice, it is distilled, condensed, and carried forward in quiet, immutable grace. And so, as night falls over the land where Antioch once thrived, the chalice rests in quiet dignity. Stars wheel overhead, casting faint light that might, if imagined, shimmer on the bronze and silver. The air is still, yet carries the weight of centuries. Footsteps of the long-gone echo softly in the imagination. Priests, dancers, worshippers, kings, all have passed, all have vanished, and yet the chalice remains, carrying the accumulated memory of 1,000 lifetimes. Its emptiness is deceptive. There is no wine, no libation, yet it is full. Full of memory, full of artistry, full of human presence stretched thin across time. Each viewer, each observer, becomes part of that continuity. Each breath taken near it, each glance at its intricate detail, adds another layer to its quiet chronicle. It is not merely a relic, it is a living meditation on persistence, devotion, and the enduring power of creation. In holding the chalice in thought, one can imagine the slow rhythm of centuries passing over it, the collapse of empires, the quiet of burial, the meticulous brushing away of soil by modern hands, the astonishment of discovery. And throughout all this, the chalice carries no wine, yet it offers sustenance, sustenance of awe, of reflection, of understanding that some things endure not because they are used, but because they exist, because they wait, because they witness. It asks only that we notice, that we linger, that we allow ourselves to step into its quiet world. And in doing so, we participate in a ritual of attention and reverence that has no name but is as old as humanity itself. Through its silent presence, the chalice that carried no wine becomes not merely an artifact of Antioch, but a companion to anyone who seeks to feel the depth of time, the subtlety of craft, and the extraordinary patience of objects that endure when all else has vanished. And as we leave its imagined presence, as we allow the mind to drift back into the world of present air, sunlight, and motion, there remains a whisper of Antioch, of artisans, of rituals unseen, of silence that speaks more loudly than words. The chalice waits still, patient and eternal, a vessel carrying memory instead of liquid, carrying wonder instead of wine, carrying us gently into the quiet contemplation of what it means to endure. The crown that sank into sand. The crown lay buried beneath the shifting sands, hidden for centuries in the vast, silent expanse of Central Asia, where the Oxus River once meandered through lands of nomads and empires long vanished. Tajikistan, with its rugged mountains and valleys, cradled this treasure in quiet obscurity, shielding it from the storms of conquest, the passage of time, and the ambitions of rulers who would have prized it above all else. Its golden surface, worn yet radiant, captured the light even beneath layers of dust, a reminder that beauty can survive where the world seems indifferent. It was small enough to fit in a hand, yet immense in significance, shaped with care and intention, a symbol not only of power but of artistry and devotion. Each curve, each filigree detail seemed to hum with stories long forgotten, a chorus of whispers carried on the wind through deserts and mountains. The crown's surface glimmered with the quiet authority of gold, smooth and warm, yet engraved with tiny figures, animals, and abstract symbols, each carefully placed, each deliberate, as if the artisan intended to capture not just form but essence. Imagine the hands that crafted it, skilled, patient, guided by tradition, by ritual, by an understanding of proportion and beauty that transcended the fleeting years of human life. Fingers traced the outline of each motif, chisels and tiny tools pressing into the metal with precision, creating a language of art whose meaning may now be lost but whose impact remains undiminished. Perhaps a sacred ceremony accompanied its creation, a moment when artisans, priests, and nobles came together, intent on preserving a fragment of eternity in a small object of extraordinary care. For centuries the crown rested beneath the earth, unseen, untouched, a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations along the Oxus River. Armies marched, caravans passed, kings and conquerors ruled and fell, yet the crown endured, a quiet observer, its gold uncorroded, its intricate details preserved by the very obscurity that might have seemed its doom. Time itself seemed to bend around it, folding centuries into a gentle embrace, while above history unfolded in all its tumultuous grandeur. The crown's beauty lies not only in its gold or design, but in its resilience. It speaks of patience, of careful creation, of the human desire to leave a mark that lasts beyond one's own lifetime. Its engravings depicting animals in motion, abstract symbols, and tiny human figures suggest ceremonies and rituals, moments of devotion and solemnity, gestures of kingship, and perhaps even offerings made to unseen deities. Each line is a testament to the meticulous skill of the artisans, who understood that a single object could endure beyond the life of a city, a kingdom, or an empire. The sands shifted over centuries, carrying with them dust from distant lands, the ashes of fires, the weight of vanished armies. Yet the crown remained, silent, absorbing nothing visible, but recording everything in its stillness. One can imagine it lying beneath the desert, the mountains casting long shadows over its resting place, wind brushing gently across the soil above, a silent guardian of memory and craft. When it was finally unearthed, the moment was filled with quiet awe. Scholars brushed away centuries of sand and soil, revealing not only the crown's golden surface, but the delicate artistry etched into its form. Tiny animals appeared to move in frozen procession. Human figures were caught in gestures of devotion, and abstract designs hinted at a symbolic language whose full meaning might never be understood. Every detail was preserved with astonishing clarity, a record of skill, patience, and attention that outlasted the centuries above it. Holding the crown in thought, one senses the hands that shaped it, the eyes that witnessed it, and the minds that conceived it. Its presence carries the rhythm of human life long gone, the hush of ceremonies, the murmur of ritual chants, the soft rustle of robes, the distant laughter of children in royal courts. It is empty of living subjects now, yet full of traces of life, a vessel of memory and intention compressed into gold. Its silent voice is the echo of devotion and artistry, calling across time to anyone willing to listen with attention. The crown is more than an object of wealth. It is a bridge between eras, a quiet testament to the impermanence of power and the permanence of creation. Empires crumble, cities vanish, languages fade, yet this small crown endures. It reminds us that true continuity is not measured by conquest or material gain, but by the patience, precision, and care embedded in human creation. Its silence is its greatest eloquence, speaking of persistence, resilience, and beauty that needs no witness to exist. One can imagine the crown in its original setting, placed upon the head of a ruler, shimmering in torchlight, reflecting the flicker of flames across walls adorned with murals and tapestries. Perhaps offerings were made, incense burned, prayers whispered, and the crown bore witness to all of it, its presence sanctifying the ceremonies without uttering a word. Each touch, each gaze, each careful movement of hands pressing it into place, added to the quiet accumulation of memory embedded in its form. Through centuries, the crown witnessed change and upheaval. Nomads rode through valleys, traders carried spices and textiles along caravan routes, and armies passed over the land, sometimes conquering, sometimes trading, sometimes simply leaving a fleeting trace. Each event, however, left no mark upon the crown itself, yet it absorbed the quiet energy of life and human attention, buried in sand and soil. It became a repository not of material offerings but of the unseen, a testament to continuity through centuries of upheaval. When discovered, it offered insight not merely into wealth or artistry but into the human condition itself. It conveyed patience, focus, devotion, and the desire to leave something enduring. Its small figures, the careful placement of animals and abstract motifs, the smooth perfection of the gold, all communicated not function but intention, vision, and care. It reminds us that objects can survive beyond the ephemeral concerns of power and wealth, carrying instead the weight of human presence, effort, and reverence. The crown, resting in modern display, or imagined in its desert cradle, invites reflection. One can close eyes and envision the distant landscape of Tajikistan, the mountains towering, the Oxus flowing silently, the wind shifting sands above the buried treasure. Time passes slowly here, measured not in years but in patience, in endurance, in the accumulation of subtle change. And within this rhythm the crown persists, a quiet observer, neither asking nor demanding, yet profoundly eloquent. Its emptiness is full, it contains no living subject, yet holds the essence of countless generations. It does not speak aloud, yet its presence communicates across centuries, reminding us that true artistry, devotion, and patience are timeless. The gold, the engravings, the subtle curves, all form a meditation on endurance, inviting anyone who pauses to enter into its slow, rhythmic world. Through imagined ceremonies, through centuries of quiet burial, through the attentiveness of modern scholars and observers, the crown continues its vigil. It is not merely a relic of kings or wealth, but a meditation on what endures, a reminder that patience, care, and subtlety can persist long after power, ambition, and empires have faded. Its story is written not in words but in form, silence, and presence, and as one reflects upon the crown, as the mind drifts through visions of desert sands, mountain shadows, flickering torches, and long-lost rituals, there is a sense of calm, a slow heartbeat that matches the pulse of the ages. The crown that sank into sand endures not only in gold, not only in artistry, but in the quiet resonance of human intention, inviting anyone who notices it to step into a contemplation of time, patience, and the enduring beauty of creation. It rests still, patient and silent, full of history and memory, empty of wine or treasure, yet carrying the weight of countless moments, gestures, and lives. It teaches that the quiet can be stronger than the loud, that presence can outlast power, and that endurance is among the most profound of virtues. And in this quiet, in this presence, the crown continues to shine, not in sunlight, not in noise, but in the slow, rhythmic pulse of history itself, waiting for those who linger, who observe, and who understand the extraordinary patience of time. The sword that slept for centuries. The sword lay quietly for centuries, hidden beneath the earth in the rolling hills and forests of northern France, a relic of an age when kings wielded not only power, but the weight of legend. It was the sword of Charlemagne, joyous, famed in tales and songs, yet here it rested, untouched, beyond the reach of armies, thieves, and time itself. Its steel, though dulled by centuries of soil and rust, retained the elegance of its original form, balanced perfectly in imagination, etched with symbols both sacred and heroic. Each curve of the blade, each taper of its edge, spoke of skill, devotion, and a desire to forge not merely a weapon, but an emblem of authority and virtue. Imagine the forge where it was born, flames leaping high, the ringing of hammer on steel, echoing through a workshop lit by the soft glow of fire. The blacksmith's hands, steady and patient, guided each strike with precision, shaping metal to exact proportions. Charms and inscriptions were etched along the blade, tiny and deliberate, meant to bind it not just to its wielder, but to the ideals he was meant to uphold: courage, justice, and the enduring light of kingship. Perhaps a priest or monk oversaw its creation, whispering blessings and prayers as the steel glowed red and bent to human will. For centuries the sword lay in wait, buried in silence beneath layers of soil, leaves, and the detritus of ages. Forests grew and fell, rivers shifted, villages rose and vanished, and yet the sword remained, patient and unassuming, a witness to the sweep of history. Knights rode across the landscape, peasants tilled the land, kings rose and fell, and armies clashed, but none disturbed the sword in its secret resting place. Time itself seemed to bend around it, folding centuries into the stillness of a single moment, until rediscovery would bring it once more into the light. Its presence is more than metal and wood, it is memory made tangible. Each mark along the blade, each curve and engraving carries a whisper of human intent, a resonance of hands that forged it, eyes that admired it, and warriors who once imagined themselves wielding it in defense of kingdoms. The sword does not boast, it does not speak, it waits, serene and patient, offering its story only to those willing to linger and notice. Its silence is profound, full of history and devotion, and it invites the imagination to wander through centuries of life, battle, and ceremony. One can imagine the moments in which it was wielded, or at least held in anticipation. Charlemagne himself, or one of his trusted knights, grasped the hilt, feeling the weight of leadership and responsibility. The sword was not merely a tool, it was a symbol, a bridge between mortal action and immortal legend. In ceremonies of knighthood, in vows sworn to defend the realm, in the quiet moments before battle, it embodied courage, authority, and the hope that virtue could triumph over chaos. Yet despite its significance, the sword slept, buried and forgotten. It outlasted the clangor of war, the rise and fall of empires, and the relentless passage of time. Dust and soil enveloped it like a soft shroud, protecting it from human greed and the erosion of years. Through this concealment, it absorbed the world in silence, the slow rhythm of growing forests, the whisper of wind across fields, the murmur of rivers cutting through valleys. It became a vessel for centuries, holding within its stillness a record of a world long gone. When rediscovered, perhaps by a careful hand brushing away centuries of soil, the sword revealed its secrets gradually. Its steel, though weathered, gleamed with a quiet dignity, inscriptions along its length catching the light, inviting contemplation. The hilt, decorated with precious metals or carved wood, hinted at rituals of coronation, ceremonies of valor, and the careful artistry of medieval craftsmen. Every detail was a meditation on patience and devotion, a record of skill and intention pressed into metal that could endure beyond the life of any man. Holding the sword in imagination, one feels the pulse of history, the march of armies across Europe, the rustle of banners in wind, the murmur of prayers in cathedrals, the quiet moments of reflection by kings and knights. The sword was more than weapon, it was a participant, silent but present, witnessing moments of courage and decision, of triumph and loss, absorbing the rhythm of human endeavor into its being. Each generation that passed over the land above it unknowingly contributed to the quiet accumulation of memory embedded in the steel. Its rediscovery is a meditation on endurance. The sword survived fires, battles, and centuries of neglect, a testament to the skill of those who forged it and the patience of time that allowed it to endure. It teaches that beauty and significance do not always demand attention, that true resilience is often quiet, unassuming, and beyond immediate recognition. The sword's story is not written in grand gestures or loud declarations, but in subtle persistence and the capacity to outlast the world around it. In envisioning the sword's early life, one can imagine the clang of metal in distant forges, the prayers whispered as steel was cooled in oil, the careful polishing of its edge, and the meticulous carving of inscriptions meant to endure centuries. It was not a sword forged for immediate fame, but for legacy, for a continuity that transcended the mortal span of those who first wielded it. The careful alignment of balance, the subtle shaping of the hilt, and the elegance of its blade all speak to a long view, a patience that reaches far beyond human ambition. As the sword lay buried, centuries of history unfolded above it. Forests grew thick and then receded. Rivers changed course. Villages emerged and disappeared, and empires rose and fell. The lives of countless people intersected unknowingly above the sleeping blade. Farmers tending fields, travelers journeying along paths, soldiers marching to wars that would leave only faint traces. The sword witnessed all of it in silence, its presence an enduring anchor in a world defined by impermanence. Its steel is more than a material, it is memory. Every scratch, every curve, every engraved figure carries whispers of past attention, effort, and intent. The sword does not boast of its resilience. It does not proclaim its story. It holds it quietly, waiting for someone to notice. Its emptiness of motion belies the richness of its narrative. Centuries of life, duty, and devotion compressed into a single, unbroken presence. The sword teaches reflection. It is a meditation on patience, a reminder that significance often lies not in immediate impact, but in endurance. Its quiet presence speaks of skill, exercised with care, of devotion to craft and duty, and of the extraordinary capacity of human creation to persist beyond the ephemeral. One can imagine the sword being held before ceremonies, swaying gently in torchlight, or resting silently in the hands of a ruler, embodying responsibility and virtue without uttering a word. It survived because it did not demand attention. It endured because it was well made and cherished, even in moments of hidden reverence. The joyous sword of Charlemagne is a symbol of the subtle power of continuity, of craft, of care, of the deliberate attention to detail that allows objects to transcend their time. Each curve of its blade, each delicate engraving, carries a fragment of history, a whisper of lives lived, and a testament to human patience and skill. Even now, when imagined in a quiet museum display, or in the mind's eye beneath the soil of France, the sword radiates calm authority. It invites contemplation, slow thought, and attention to detail. Each engraving, each curve, each gleaming surface draws the observer into centuries of human endeavor. The sword is not simply a weapon, it is a meditation, a bridge across time, a vessel of memory, and a reminder of the power of endurance in a world that often forgets the quiet persistence of skill and devotion. It waits still, patient and serene, a guardian of centuries. Its steel hums with invisible energy, a resonance of hands, eyes, and minds that shaped it, used it, and revered it. The sword carries not the tumult of battle, nor the noise of empires, but the quiet record of human attention, devotion, and artistry. Its story is written in presence, patience, and persistence, echoing softly through centuries to anyone willing to observe. The sword rests, empty of immediate purpose, yet full of history, memory, and human endeavor. It is a quiet teacher, a companion to reflection, and a meditation on the endurance of beauty, skill, and devotion. Time flows around it, empires fade, and centuries pass, yet the joyous sword of Charlemagne remains, patient, silent, and profoundly alive in its stillness. It is in this quiet presence that the sword fulfills its greatest purpose, not in the wielding of kings or the clamor of war, but in its ability to endure, to inspire reflection, and to connect the observer with the long rhythmic pulse of history. The sword, asleep for centuries, continues to teach that true legacy lies not in fame or conquest, but in patience, devotion, and the quiet power of creation. The vessel that fed the sky. The crater lay silently in the earth, buried beneath layers of soil and centuries of forgotten footsteps, a vessel of immense presence and quiet power. Dendra, an ancient site of Greece, had long since fallen to dust and memory, its palaces and homes crumbled, its people gone. Yet the crater remained. It was massive, wider than a human arm span, a vessel shaped not only to hold liquid but to hold significance, to act as a conduit between the earthly and the divine. Its surface, though worn by time, bore intricate patterns, geometric shapes, and delicate figures whose meaning could only be partially glimpsed by the modern eye, yet whose artistry and intent radiated across the ages. Imagine the hands that shaped it, the slow rhythm of the potter's wheel, the steady pressure of fingers forming curves and ridges, the careful attention to balance and proportion. Perhaps the artisan worked in the soft light of an open courtyard, the sun illuminating every movement, the breeze carrying the scent of wet clay and the distant salt of the sea. Each stroke of tool and hand pressed intention into the vessel, a silent record of skill, focus, and devotion. Every figure and pattern was deliberate, a meditation of time and effort, capturing the essence of a culture, its rituals, and its reverence for the forces beyond the human world. The crater was not merely a container, it was a bridge. It connected the earth and the sky, the living and the divine. Perhaps it was used in ceremonies of offering, where grains, wine, or sacred liquids were poured, not for consumption alone, but to honor deities, to feed the invisible forces that watched over cities, fields, and the cycles of life. Imagine the priests or elders, robes flowing in the wind, raising the vessel with solemnity, the sun glinting off its surface, shadows playing across its detailed engravings. Each offering was a conversation between human hands and divine presence, each pour a gesture of devotion, and each ripple in the liquid a reflection of the crater's quiet authority. Through centuries, it remained hidden. Dendra changed as time moved forward. Palaces crumbled, homes vanished, tombs were lost, and the people who once celebrated life around it disappeared. Generations passed, unaware of the treasure lying beneath their feet. Dust settled upon it, soil pressed gently, and the crater became a silent witness to the slow passage of time. The earth above it shifted with rain, wind, and human movement, yet the crater endured, absorbing the rhythm of history in quiet meditation. Imagine the rituals it may have hosted, long before its concealment. Families gathering to honor the harvest, communities offering thanks for the fertility of their fields, leaders performing ceremonies to solidify alliances or declare fealty. Each gesture, each word spoken over the crater, each careful placement of offerings, added layers to its quiet memory. Though it held no voice, it became a vessel of human intention, patience, and reverence, capturing the subtle energy of lives intertwined with ritual, belief, and attention to the world beyond immediate perception. The artistry of the Dendra crater is breathtaking. Figures wrap around its body in continuous procession, warriors poised in silent combat, dancers frozen mid-motion, animals rendered with an attention to detail that suggests both observation and reverence. Geometric patterns frame these scenes, creating a rhythm that guides the eye and evokes the careful thought of its maker. The vessel is both functional and contemplative, a container and a chronicle, a single object that encompasses the complexity of a civilization's rituals, beliefs, and daily life. When it was finally uncovered, the sensation was not one of noise and fanfare, but of quiet astonishment. Archaeologists brushed away layers of soil with delicate precision, revealing not only the vessel's form but the intricate figures that wrapped around it. Magnification revealed minute details: the curve of a dancer's arm, the tension in a warrior's stance, the graceful motion of an animal poised in mid-step. Each engraving testified to skill honed over years, perhaps decades, of practice, and to a culture that understood the importance of permanence, of beauty, and of the continuity of memory. Holding the crater in imagination, one can feel the pulse of life long vanished, the whisper of conversations, the flicker of torches or sunlight on stone walls, the rhythmic chant of ritual, the soft murmur of wind through olive trees. Each of these moments is absorbed, not physically, but as presence, into the vessel's being. The crater holds the energy of countless gestures, prayers, and offerings, transforming its emptiness into a fullness of memory and attention. Its silence is eloquent, conveying centuries of human intention without uttering a single word. Through the millennia, the vessel endured. Earthquakes shook the ground, invaders passed, civilizations shifted and vanished, yet the crater survived. It is a testament not to power or conquest, but to patience, careful attention, and the quiet force of human artistry. The hands that formed it, the minds that conceived its patterns, and the eyes that witnessed its use, all contributed to a legacy that could persist long beyond the lifetimes of those who shaped or revered it. Even in its rediscovery, the crater does not demand attention. It waits, inviting contemplation, rewarding patience. Observers can trace the lines of its figures, follow the rhythm of its engravings, and imagine the ceremonies it once hosted. Each observation adds to its silent story, layering modern awareness over ancient memory. Its function as a ceremonial vessel, though partially understood, remains secondary to its role as a witness to time, a repository of human devotion, and a connector of generations. The crater is not merely a historical artifact, it is a meditation on endurance and presence. It teaches that significance can reside in silence, that beauty is not diminished by obscurity, and that human effort, intention, and skill can transcend centuries. Its empty interior is full of meaning, its simple form enriched by artistry, ritual, and the slow accumulation of memory. It reminds us that objects, carefully created and revered, can hold more than their immediate purpose, preserving the essence of human life, belief, and devotion. Imagine standing before it in a quiet museum or in the mind's eye, amid the ancient ruins of Dendra. The crater glows softly in subdued light, its engravings tracing stories long forgotten. One can almost hear the faint echoes of chants, the soft footsteps of worshippers, the rustle of robes, and the delicate clink of offerings placed within its bowl. Each imagined sound, each gentle motion, adds another layer to its narrative, a quiet symphony of centuries that unfolds in contemplation. Through its long, patient presence, the Dendra crater carries lessons of endurance. It shows that beauty and meaning can survive even when the world above changes beyond recognition. It is a bridge between past and present, connecting us to rituals, lives, and devotion that we can only glimpse, yet which remain vivid, in the vessel's form. Its significance is not in spectacle or fame, but in the quiet testimony of craftsmanship, devotion, and the capacity to hold memory across time. Even as one leaves its imagined presence, the crater leaves a resonance behind, the rhythm of centuries, the persistence of attention, the quiet patience of human creation, and the enduring power of beauty. It invites reflection on the impermanence of life, and the permanence of intention. The vessel that fed the sky rests in silence, a conduit of memory, artistry, and devotion, holding the fullness of history within its empty form, waiting patiently for those who observe with care. It is not merely a vessel, but a teacher. Its empty bowl reminds us that significance is not always tangible, that true presence transcends the immediate, and that endurance is among the most profound of virtues. Through its quiet form, the crater conveys the rhythms of ancient Greece, the devotion of its people, and the artistry of those who sought to preserve something eternal. Its story is written not in ink or spoken word, but in shape, line, and enduring stillness. The Dendra crater remains, patient and serene, a silent witness to the sweep of time. Its surface hums with the quiet energy of centuries, reflecting the care of hands long gone, the devotion of rituals performed, and the persistence of artistry across generations. It is a meditation on the power of creation, the importance of observation, and the subtle beauty of endurance. Even as civilizations rise and fall, the crater endures, holding within its form the pulse of human life and the rhythm of the sky it once fed. In this calm presence, one feels a connection across millennia, a slow, deliberate heartbeat that links ancient artisans, priests, worshippers, and modern observers. The vessel that fed the sky rests in quiet authority, empty yet full, silent yet speaking, a reminder that patience, devotion, and care can transcend the transient nature of life and persist as a subtle, enduring resonance for all who are willing to linger and observe. The staff that walked without steps. The staff of Osiris lay in quiet darkness for millennia, hidden beneath the sands and stone of Egypt, a relic whose significance was known once but now exists only in the whispers of memory. Carved from wood and adorned with intricate gold and faience, it was not merely a tool but a symbol, a bridge between the mortal and the divine, a conduit for the power of gods and kings alike. Its surface, worn smooth by hands long vanished, retains the faint warmth of devotion, and its shape, elegant yet commanding, conveys authority that transcends mere human presence. Imagine the artisans who first shaped it, their hands steady over the grain of wood, their tools guided by both knowledge and reverence. Perhaps they worked in a quiet chamber illuminated by flickering oil lamps, the scent of resin and incense filling the air. Fingers traced intricate patterns along the staff's length, etching hieroglyphs, symbols of protection, and sacred emblems meant to channel power and invoke the attention of Osiris himself. Every detail, from the curvature of the shaft to the placement of inlaid gems, was intentional, each gesture an offering of attention and care. The staff's purpose extended beyond mere ornamentation. It was a symbol of kingship, of divine sanction, a link between rulers and the eternal. Priests carried it during ceremonies, lifting it high to touch the unseen heavens, their chants rising in harmonious cadence. The staff walked without steps, for it moved not through motion alone, but through the weight of presence, through the power and authority it conferred upon its bearer. In the sacred rituals of temples, it became a living witness, absorbing the rhythm of prayers, the sway of incense smoke, and the murmured reverence of worshippers. As centuries passed, Egypt's landscape shifted and transformed. Dynasties rose and fell, monuments were built and abandoned. The Nile's waters shifted the earth, and yet the staff endured. Buried or hidden in sacred chambers, it witnessed the slow procession of life, the march of history, and the quiet decay of once great civilizations. Through floods, fires, and the rise of empires, the staff remained untouched, patient, a vessel of memory, silently recording the devotion, care, and ritual of generations who had revered it. Picture the ceremonial processions in which the staff participated, priests walking in measured steps, the soft rustle of linen robes, incense curling upward, the golden sunlight catching the staff's ornamentation, casting reflections across temple walls. The staff did not move alone. It carried the weight of ritual, tradition, and sacred authority, connecting the mortal participants to realms unseen. Every tilt, every gesture was deliberate, echoing centuries of practice, embodying the harmony between human intent and divine presence. Even when buried or hidden, the staff absorbed the world above it. The quiet shifts of sand, the slow erosion of stone, the murmurs of life passing over it, all became part of its history. Nomads, traders, soldiers, and travelers moved across the land, oblivious to its presence, yet each contributed imperceptibly to the accumulation of centuries. The staff's surface, untouched by human hands, recorded instead the rhythm of time itself, the ebb and flow of civilizations, and the invisible energy of devotion that surrounded it. When it was finally rediscovered, the moment was one of hushed awe. Archaeologists and scholars uncovered it with careful precision, brushing away centuries of dust, sand, and detritus, revealing not only the wood and inlay, but the intricate carvings, the delicate hieroglyphs, and the subtle shaping of its form. Every symbol suggested a purpose, a prayer, a link to ritual practices that modern eyes can only partially comprehend. The staff, silent and serene, communicated across millennia, carrying the echoes of devotion and artistry within its form. Its power lies not in the material alone, but in the accumulation of attention, ritual, and care. The staff teaches that significance does not require motion or spectacle. It exists in the persistent presence of creation, in the devotion of hands and eyes across centuries. Every scratch, every groove, every inlaid stone holds the resonance of human attention and sacred purpose. Its silence is profound, full of the quiet authority of endurance and dedication. To imagine holding it is to enter a meditation on the rhythm of Egyptian life, the flow of the Nile, the sway of papyrus, the chants in sunlit temples, the flicker of torches in shadowed halls. It connects to kings and priests, artisans and worshippers, and even to the anonymous individuals who pass through temples unaware of the staff's significance, yet whose presence contributed to its continuity. The staff becomes a nexus, a focal point, where time, devotion, and human intention converge. The artistry is meticulous, hieroglyphs carved with precision, patterns repeating in harmony with symbolic meaning, inlays of faience and gold glinting softly even after centuries. It is an object that rewards patient observation, inviting contemplation, offering subtle revelation with each inspection. The staff embodies the principle that endurance and attention to detail can preserve meaning beyond the transience of life, empire, and even memory itself. Through the shifting sands and centuries of obscurity, the staff of Osiris became a repository of ritual, memory, and reverence. It witnessed the ebb and flow of kingdoms, the quiet moments of devotion, and the performance of sacred rites that connected the people of Egypt to their gods. Its form remained intact, a silent companion to history, absorbing and reflecting the energies of all who approached it with respect. In its rediscovery, one senses not just a historical artifact, but a meditation on time, patience, and persistence. The staff does not demand recognition. It waits, silent, allowing those who observe it to slowly perceive the depth of its artistry, the intricacy of its symbolism, and the accumulation of centuries of human reverence. Its empty space between inlays and carvings holds more meaning than words can convey, an enduring testament to the care and intention of those who created and used it. Even as civilizations above it changed, fell, and transformed, the staff endured. It survived earthquakes, invasions, neglect, and decay, its presence a subtle reminder of the power of craft, attention, and ritual. Its movements, though imagined, seem guided not by flesh alone, but by the weight of history and the quiet authority of sacred purpose. In every imagined tilt and gesture, it carries the presence of worshippers, kings, and artisans who once honored it, silently teaching lessons about continuity, patience, and devotion. The staff's emptiness is deceptive. It is full of memory, of practice, of ritual intent. It embodies the principle that silence can speak louder than any proclamation, that stillness can carry more resonance than motion, and that careful creation can endure beyond the limits of human lifespan. Each curve, each inlay, each carved symbol resonates with a subtle force, connecting the observer to a world long vanished but preserved in patient, quiet presence. As one reflects upon it, the staff becomes a meditation on history itself. Time flows around it, events happen above it, empires rise and fall, yet the staff remains. Its endurance is a lesson in the quiet persistence of meaning, the subtle power of artistry, and the long-lasting influence of human intention. It is more than an artifact, it is a bridge across millennia, a conduit of memory, devotion, and reverence, inviting reflection on what truly lasts when empires crumble and centuries pass. Standing before it in thought, one imagines the sacred ceremonies it witnessed, incense curling upward, priests chanting, the sunlight glinting across its inlays, worshippers' movements carefully choreographed in rhythm with the ritual. Every detail of its form was designed to enhance its presence in these sacred moments, to link the human and the divine, to communicate authority and sanctity through material and form. The staff's silent testimony endures, even when the original meanings are partially lost, speaking instead through the quiet power of craftsmanship, intention, and the continuity of ritual. The staff of Osiris remains, patient and serene, a guardian of centuries. It invites contemplation, drawing the observer into the slow rhythm of history and the enduring presence of human devotion. Its surface glows softly in memory or imagination, its inscriptions resonating with the efforts of countless hands, eyes, and minds that shaped it and revered it. It teaches the subtle strength of quiet endurance, the beauty of careful creation, and the enduring resonance of attention and care. Even in its silence, it carries lessons for those who linger, that true significance is often invisible, that beauty survives neglect, and that memory can be preserved in stillness as powerfully as in action. It is a meditation, a link across time, a vessel of devotion that continues to walk without steps, carrying the presence of Egypt and its gods across millennia. And so, the staff that walked without steps rests still, empty of motion but full of history, silent yet eloquent, patient yet profound. It is a teacher of endurance, devotion, and artistry, a reminder that what is carefully created and revered can transcend the fleeting concerns of empires, kings, and time itself. In its quiet presence, one feels the pulse of millennia, the rhythm of ritual, and the deep resonance of a world once vibrant, now preserved in patient, enduring silence. The scroll that spoke of shadows. The scroll lay quietly for millennia, rolled and fragile, hidden beneath the sands and tombs of ancient Egypt, a delicate repository of knowledge, ritual, and the mysterious passage between life and death. Known as a copy of the Book of the Dead, it was a papyrus that spoke of shadows, of the journey beyond the visible world, of the delicate threads that tied the living to the departed and the mortal to the divine. Its surface, though fragile and browned with age, bore intricate hieroglyphs, vignettes, and spells that carried instructions, prayers, and guidance for the soul navigating the realms beyond the Nile and the desert. Imagine the hands that first scribed it, careful, steady, deliberate. A scribe sat upon a mat of reeds, under soft sunlight filtering through a temple window or courtyard, the scent of ink, resin, and papyrus surrounding them. Each hieroglyph was a mark of devotion, each figure a fragment of sacred instruction, each line a bridge between the world of the living and the shadowy paths of the dead. Brushes and reeds pressed gently upon the papyrus, leaving behind precise and deliberate strokes, forming a rhythm of devotion, meditation, and purpose. The scroll was not merely a record, it was a guide, a companion for the deceased, a map to navigate the unseen realms. Priests and scribes imbued it with intention, ensuring that those who carried it in tombs would find the correct path through the duat, the underworld, and the obstacles that threatened the soul on its journey to Osiris. Each chapter, each image, each carefully drawn illustration served a dual purpose: instruction and protection, comfort and warning. The scroll itself became a silent participant in the sacred rites of death, present even when the living were absent, offering guidance in eternal quiet. As centuries passed, Egypt's sands shifted, tombs were buried, dynasties rose and fell, yet the scroll endured. Hidden within tombs or secret chambers, it survived the erosive touch of time, the decay of wood and stone, the intrusions of grave robbers who may have passed it by, unaware of its profound purpose. Dust and sand settled upon its surface, fibers dried and stiffened, yet it remained intact, patient and enduring, waiting to reveal its mysteries again. Imagine the ceremonies in which it was used, priests chanting softly in the half-light of tombs, incense curling in the still air, offerings placed upon stone altars, and the scroll unrolled slowly to reveal its detailed guidance. Each figure was a story, each line a pathway, each spell a shield. The scroll spoke through these silent images and inscriptions, guiding the soul through shadowed halls, past guardians, and into the presence of the divine. It moved not through physical steps, but through the energy and intention embedded in every mark upon the papyrus. The artistry of the scroll is breathtaking. Figures of gods and goddesses, guides and monsters, floating spirits and judgment scenes, interweave with hieroglyphic text, forming a continuous visual and linguistic rhythm. The illustrations, though stylized, are filled with narrative motion: Osiris enthroned in judgment, Anubis guiding the soul, serpents guarding thresholds, and the weighing of hearts against the feather of Maat. These vignettes are not merely decorative, they are functional, a spiritual map for those who would traverse the unseen realms. Through its long concealment, the scroll absorbed centuries of silence, of undisturbed attention, and the quiet rhythm of the world above. Tombs were plundered, cities rose and fell, and civilizations forgot, yet the scroll remained, a quiet witness to time's passage. Even in obscurity, it preserved the energy of human care, ritual, and devotion, quietly awaiting rediscovery. Its fibers held memory not just of the scribe's hand, but of the spiritual intention, the prayers offered, and the meticulous care of ancient artisans and priests. When rediscovered, the scroll revealed itself gradually. Archaeologists carefully unrolled it, each centimeter yielding new insight, each illustration and line of text revealing a fragment of ancient belief. The hieroglyphs, once vibrant with ink, spoke again, offering glimpses into the minds and hearts of those who had prepared it. Spells for protection, guidance, and empowerment were still legible, connecting modern observers with the spiritual and cultural universe of millennia past. The scroll's silent voice, though faint, was profound. It carried the accumulated attention of countless hands, eyes, and minds. Holding the scroll in imagination is to enter a meditation on mortality and memory. One can picture the processions that might have occurred in tombs, the soft footfalls of priests, the flickering torchlight casting shadows over stone walls, the hushed whisper of incantations, the careful placement of offerings. Each motion, each gesture, is absorbed into the presence of the scroll, adding layers to its silent narrative. It carries not just instructions for the deceased, but the echo of devotion, the rhythm of ritual, and the persistent care of generations that knew the power of proper guidance in the afterlife. Even in modern contemplation, the scroll continues to speak. Its illustrations and hieroglyphs convey both visual and conceptual rhythm, teaching patience, observation, and reflection. Each figure encourages the eye to linger, to trace lines and forms, to consider the delicate interplay of life, death, and the divine. It reminds the observer that significance need not be loud, it can be absorbed quietly, experienced slowly, and appreciated fully in stillness. The scroll's endurance is remarkable. Despite exposure to time, neglect, and the fragility of its material, it survived intact. It is a testament to the skill of ancient scribes and artisans, the sacred intention embedded in each mark, and the reverence with which these objects were treated. It demonstrates that careful creation, combined with ritual purpose, can preserve meaning far beyond the human lifespan. Its presence is a lesson in patience, continuity, and the quiet power of artful devotion. In imagining its use, one can trace the journey of a soul guided by the scroll, past guardians and obstacles, through shadowed halls, weighed and judged, ultimately reaching Osiris and the promise of eternal life. Each scene on the papyrus contributes to a larger narrative, a meditation on the balance between action and morality, between human effort and divine grace. The scroll does not merely instruct, it participates, offering protection and guidance through careful design, imagery, and intention. Through centuries of quiet concealment, the scroll became more than paper and ink. It became a repository of memory, a vessel of ritual energy, a link between generations, a silent companion for the departed. Its survival embodies the delicate intersection of material and spiritual, of human intention and divine acknowledgement, of the temporal and the eternal. Every fiber, every stroke, every vignette carries echoes of care, attention, and sacred practice. The Book of the Dead papyrus teaches reflection. Its careful images and precise hieroglyphs invite contemplation on mortality, morality, and the enduring connection between humans and gods. The scroll is a meditation, a bridge across millennia, allowing modern observers to touch the spiritual and cultural universe of ancient Egypt. It teaches that endurance and meaning can exist in silence, that attention and care can transcend centuries, and that art and devotion can preserve memory beyond human lifespan. Standing before it in imagination, one sees not only a ritual object but a living presence. The soft curve of the papyrus, the meticulous arrangement of text and image, the subtle rhythm of design, all convey a quiet authority. It communicates without voice, guiding reflection, inviting observation, and preserving the weight of centuries of spiritual attention. Its presence is profound, a reminder that some objects carry power not through action, but through patient, deliberate creation and careful preservation. The scroll continues to resonate, even in modern times, with the energy of its original purpose. It speaks through the arrangement of its text and images, through the care of its artisans, through the rituals performed over and around it. It embodies the rhythm of ancient life, the devotion of those who prepared it, and the enduring concern for souls navigating the shadowed paths beyond. Each illustration, each symbol, each line of hieroglyph is a whisper across millennia, a guide, a presence, and a testament to human care and spiritual attention. Even in its silence, the scroll holds lessons for patience, reflection, and endurance. It teaches that beauty, purpose, and significance do not always require immediate recognition. Through careful creation, thoughtful attention, and reverence for both the human and the divine, the scroll endures, a quiet bridge between past and present, between life and shadow, between mortal concern and eternal mystery. Its story is not written in sound or movement, but in patient, deliberate stillness. The scroll that spoke of shadows remains, patient and serene, a guardian of millennia, a vessel of ritual, devotion, and memory. It carries within it the pulse of ancient Egypt, the rhythm of sacred ceremonies, the attention of countless hands, and the quiet guidance of the departed. It invites reflection, contemplation, and connection, whispering across time that some knowledge, some care, and some devotion endure forever. In its quiet presence, one feels the continuity of human effort, the delicate bridge between life and death, and the subtle resonance of the sacred. The scroll is a meditation on mortality, devotion, and the endurance of meaning across centuries. Even now, its fragile fibers and intricate designs carry the essence of its original purpose, teaching that patience, care, and attention can preserve significance beyond the reach of time itself. And so, the Book of the Dead papyrus rests, silent yet eloquent, empty of voice yet full of guidance, patient yet profoundly alive. It is a testament to artistry, devotion, and the enduring power of ritual, a bridge between the living and the departed, between history and imagination, between shadow and light. The figurine that carried a secret, the Venus of Les Pegues, rested quietly for tens of thousands of years, carved from mammoth ivory in the depths of the Upper Paleolithic, a time when humans moved cautiously through shadowed caves and dense forests. Its delicate curves, exaggerated yet purposeful, spoke not of mere form but of ideas, of devotion, and of the mysteries of life, fertility, and survival, buried for millennia in the soft soil of what is now France. It waited silently, carrying secrets that no words could fully capture, preserved in the ivory's pale, smooth surface, touched once by human hands, and then only by the slow passage of time. Imagine the hands that shaped it, fingers, worn yet skilled, moved with care, pressing ivory with the precision of intent. The carver worked perhaps by firelight in a small cave chamber, the shadows flickering across the walls, the scent of burnt wood and earth hanging in the air. Every curve, every contour, every subtle indentation was deliberate. The sculptor knew the significance of each stroke, understood that they were shaping more than ivory, they were giving form to belief, to reverence for life and survival, to hope for continuity in a world of uncertainty. The figurine's exaggerated features were symbolic, broad hips and pronounced breasts, perhaps meant to emphasize fertility, survival, and the continuity of the community. Each contour spoke not merely of the human body, but of the ideas surrounding reproduction, nourishment, and the cycles of life that early humans sought to honor and understand. In its silent presence, the Venus held a secret language, communicating hope, devotion, and understanding across generations without uttering a single word. It likely had a ritual life, even if it was hidden from the modern observer. Perhaps it was held during ceremonies, passed from hand to hand as people whispered prayers for fertility, for the health of children, for the bounty of the hunt. The ivory would have warmed under human touch, each handling adding layers of memory and devotion, imprinting the essence of human presence into the very material. In these quiet moments, the figurine became more than an object, it became a vessel of human intention, a silent witness to belief and ritual that predated the written word. Through the millennia, the Venus survived where countless other objects did not. The ivory resisted the slow decay of Earth, the figurine endured the rise and fall of climates, the movement of glaciers, and the passage of humans who may have walked unknowingly over it. Each century layered dust and soil upon its surface, yet it remained intact, patient, carrying the silent secrets of a world long vanished, untouched yet profoundly present. The artistry is remarkable. Despite the small scale, the figurine's form communicates balance and purpose, rhythm and attention. Every line, every curve, every nuance was intentional, echoing a cultural understanding of human form, survival, and belief. It embodies a quiet sophistication, a delicate beauty that reflects both the physical skill of the carver and the conceptual depth of the society that created it. The figurine's meaning is layered, both aesthetic and symbolic, a bridge between material and idea, past and present. Imagine the landscape it was born into: vast forests and open plains, herds of mammoths and bison roaming, the subtle shifts of weather and season. Early humans, their lives precarious and their days measured by the hunt, the fire, and the rhythm of survival, created this figurine as a beacon of continuity. Each feature symbolized care, attention, and hope. Each curve communicated understanding of the world and humanity's place within it. The Venus was a guide, a talisman, a silent guardian of life's most fragile and essential aspects. When it was finally uncovered in the 20th century, the discovery was quiet, understated, yet profound. Archaeologists carefully extracted it from the soil, revealing not only the form but the extraordinary skill with which it had been carved. The ivory, though ancient, retained a subtle smoothness, a tactile memory of the hands that shaped it. Its surface spoke of attention, patience, and reverence, conveying a sense of continuity between the distant past and the present. The figurine's voice was silent, yet every detail communicated a rich story of human thought, devotion, and survival. Holding the figurine in the imagination, one can feel the pulse of the Paleolithic world, the flicker of firelight in caves, the murmur of voices, the rustle of animal skins, the quiet attention given to the hunt, the gathering of food, and the care for the next generation. Each imagined sound and movement is absorbed into the figurine's presence, layering memory over material, intention over form. It becomes a bridge, connecting the observer to lives lived tens of thousands of years ago, to thoughts, hopes, and beliefs that have endured silently through time. The figurine's exaggeration is not mere abstraction, it is deliberate, symbolic, and thoughtful. It emphasizes aspects of human experience that were most valued and most essential: fertility, sustenance, survival, and continuity. Each curve is a message, each proportion a reflection of deep understanding of life's fragility and resilience. In its quiet presence, the Venus communicates lessons of attention, care, and reverence for what is essential. Even in the modern eye, the figurine conveys an almost meditative quality. Its presence is quiet but profound, demanding observation, patience, and reflection. The surface invites touch, even in imagination, encouraging a slow exploration of form, detail, and meaning. It teaches that significance can reside in silence, that beauty can endure beyond recognition, and that human intention can resonate across tens of thousands of years. Through the passage of millennia, the Venus remained a silent witness to human continuity. It endured climate shifts, geological changes, and human movement, carrying the energy of belief, attention, and reverence. It absorbed the rhythms of early life, the hunt, the family, the cycles of nature, and the quiet understanding of mortality and survival. Its survival is testament not only to material resilience, but to the profound significance embedded in its creation. In imagining its role in ritual, one sees early humans holding the figurine gently, speaking words of hope or prayer, feeling its smooth surface, and acknowledging the cycles of life it represented. Perhaps it was placed in burials, carried to mark the passage from life to death, or passed between generations as a symbol of continuity. Each imagined act adds to the layers of meaning preserved within the ivory, transforming it from mere object to living repository of memory, intention, and belief. The Venus of Lespug endures as more than a figurine. It is a meditation on continuity, care, and attention. It reminds the observer that human intention, applied thoughtfully and with devotion, can resonate across millennia. Its presence teaches patience, endurance, and reflection. Its silent form holds stories of survival, hope, and reverence for life, carrying them gently across time to anyone willing to observe and contemplate. Even now, its curves, proportions, and surface invite slow observation, drawing the mind into a rhythm of meditation. Each imagined gesture of the original hands, each ritual, each moment of devotion, layers itself upon the figurine, creating a continuity of memory and care. It is both object and teacher, silent yet eloquent, small yet vast in its reach across human consciousness and history. The figurine remains patient, serene, and silent, yet full of presence. It embodies the subtle power of human intention, the quiet endurance of belief, and the lasting resonance of care applied across generations. It invites reflection, slow thought, and meditation on the cycles of life and the persistence of human understanding. Its meaning is not spoken aloud, but absorbed in contemplation, a secret carried across tens of thousands of years, waiting patiently for those who linger to perceive it. In its quiet existence, the Venus teaches that what is essential is often unseen, that attention and care endure beyond human life, and that beauty and significance can persist silently, resilient to the passage of time. It is a bridge between eras, a carrier of secrets, a vessel of intention and devotion, and a reminder that the human desire to honor life, continuity, and survival transcends the ages. A figurine that carried a secret rests in quiet authority, small yet monumental, silent yet profoundly eloquent. It is a meditation, a teacher, and a guardian of memory, carrying the essence of Paleolithic life, thought, and devotion across tens of thousands of years, and it will continue to do so for generations yet to come. The stone that counted the dead. The Tikal stelae stand in silent witness to centuries of human life and death, tall monolithic stones rising from the jungle floor of what is now Guatemala, their surfaces etched with hieroglyphs, images, and symbols that speak across time. These stelae are not merely monuments, they are storytellers, recorders of kings, warriors, and the cycles of life and death in the ancient Maya civilization. Their very presence is imposing, commanding attention while simultaneously inviting contemplation, quietly counting the lives, victories, and memories of those long past. Imagine the jungle as it was when these stelae were first raised. Dense foliage, the distant calls of howler monkeys, the rustle of leaves in the wind. Artisans and laborers carried enormous stone slabs across uneven terrain, placing them with care and precision. Each stele required not just physical effort but ritual intention, for they were carved to immortalize rulers, commemorate ceremonies, and honor gods. Every glyph and relief was a deliberate act, a methodical storytelling that captured the memory of both the living and the dead. The carvings on the stele are intricate, precise, and full of symbolism. Kings are depicted in ceremonial attire, adorned with headdresses, jewelry, and scepters, their posture commanding and solemn. Surrounding them, glyphs record names, dates, and deeds, an accounting of their reigns, battles, and offerings to gods. But the stelae are not just historical, they are spiritual, bridging the world of the living and the ancestors, ensuring that those who passed were remembered and honored. The stones themselves became a ledger, each symbol a note in the ongoing chronicle of life, death, and legacy. The labor of creation was immense. Artisans chiseled stone with obsidian tools, careful not to fracture the surface, each strike a measured interaction between human intent and the hardness of the rock. They worked in sunlight, under shade, with rhythms guided by ceremony, ritual, and the passage of the day. Perhaps priests oversaw the process, reciting chants to imbue the stone with sacred energy, calling upon gods and ancestors to witness and bless the endeavor. Every detail was imbued with reverence, from the posture of depicted figures to the spacing of glyphs, to ensure that the stone would carry meaning for centuries. Time passed, and the jungle crept back, wrapping these monuments in vines, moss, and shadow. The city of Tikal, once vibrant and filled with the hum of life, markets, rituals, laughter, and the cries of children, fell quiet. The stele remained, enduring amidst decay and growth, silently counting lives, victories, and the passing of rulers. Each year, each century, added layers of meaning to their presence. Though the city faded from human memory, the stone stood, keeping the account of life and death in their silent, unyielding form. To approach a stele now is to step into the rhythm of the past. The air carries the scent of damp earth, the sounds of the jungle echoing faintly, and the stones, though weathered, retain the gravity of their original purpose. Each glyph invites careful observation, each relief a meditation on continuity, authority, and remembrance. The stele count the dead, not in numbers alone, but in significance. The names, the stories, the deeds, the prayers, and the ceremonial life of an entire civilization etched into stone for eternity. The artistry is profound. Carvings convey both power and delicacy, the lines precise, the forms full of motion and symbolism. Figures are depicted in ritual stances, holding ceremonial objects, their attire a reflection of status, belief, and function. The surrounding glyphs weave a narrative, connecting king and god, ruler and city, life and death. They transform the stone from inert material into a repository of memory and intention, an object whose presence reverberates with the energy of those who crafted and revered it. Imagine the ceremonies that occurred around the stele. Processions of priests and nobles, incense curling skyward, drums marking time, chants echoing through plazas, offerings of maize, cacao, and other sacred goods. The stones bore witness to these moments, absorbing their significance, recording their energy, and silently counting each life involved. Each ceremony reinforced the purpose of the stele: remembrance, continuity, and connection with both ancestors and the divine. As centuries passed, the stele weathered wind, rain, and sun, their surfaces eroding slowly, glyphs fading, reliefs softening. Yet they endured, patient and unwavering, preserving the memory of rulers and citizens alike. Even as the jungle reclaimed Tikal, the stones remained, silent keepers of history, their purpose undiminished. They demonstrate that memory, carefully inscribed and revered, can outlast empires, cities, and civilizations, holding human experience in quiet endurance. Modern archaeologists, upon rediscovering these stelae, approach with careful reverence. Each stone is meticulously studied, photographed, measured, and documented, yet beyond the academic understanding lies the profound sensation of presence, the awareness that these stones are not merely artifacts but conduits of memory, spiritual connection, and human intention. Their carvings, though silent, communicate across time, telling the stories of kings, commoners, ceremonies, and the cycles of life and death in Tikal. To stand before a stela is to feel the rhythm of the ancient city, the pulse of life, the ceremonial energy, the weight of authority, and the gravity of mortality. Each glyph, each carved figure, each placement within the plaza contributes to a narrative larger than any one ruler, weaving together the community, the city, and the spiritual framework that guided the Maya worldview. The stela count not merely the dead in numbers but in significance, presence, and memory, transforming stone into a ledger of life and legacy. Even as centuries pass, the stela continue their silent duty. They bear witness to modern observers, scholars, and travelers, offering lessons about continuity, care, and the enduring power of memory. They invite reflection on mortality, on legacy, and on the ways human societies strive to preserve meaning across time. They are both historical record and spiritual artifact, connecting the past to the present in a profound, contemplative manner. The stones themselves exude a rhythm, a quiet energy that resonates with the surrounding environment. Moss and vines soften their surfaces, sunlight highlights reliefs, rain patters gently upon them, and the sounds of birds and insects weave a living soundtrack around their presence. In this way, the stelae continue to interact with the world, maintaining their role as silent counters, observers, and recorders, bridging natural and human histories alike. Every carving and glyph on the Tikal stelae carries intention. The figures of kings, the depiction of ceremonial acts, and the hieroglyphic inscriptions were all designed to convey authority, lineage, and spiritual guidance. They transform the stelae into more than monuments. They become active participants in cultural continuity, silently performing their function even as the civilization that created them faded from prominence. To contemplate the stelae is to meditate on life's impermanence and the human desire to leave a mark upon the world. They remind observers that while individual lives are finite, careful attention, devotion, and deliberate action can preserve memory far beyond a single lifetime. Each glyph, each relief, each ceremonial depiction is an enduring testament to the rhythm of human experience, the cycles of power, and the reverence for both life and death. Even in their rediscovery, the stelae demand patience, observation, and reflection. Their details reveal themselves slowly, the subtle gestures of carved hands, the tilt of a headdress, the arrangement of glyphs along the stone's surface. Each element contributes to the larger narrative, conveying both temporal and spiritual meaning, offering the observer a meditation on authority, memory, and the enduring cycles of human existence. The stelae counted the dead, yes, but they also counted the living. Every ceremony, every offering, every observation by citizens contributed to their significance. They were not static records, but active participants in the spiritual and civic life of Tikal, absorbing energy, attention, and intention, ensuring that life, death, and legacy were preserved in stone for generations. Standing quietly before these towering stones, one can imagine the lives that passed in their shadow. Kings and nobles, priests and artisans, children and elders, all contributing to the rhythm and continuity that the stelae silently preserved. Each life mattered, each deed remembered, each ceremony recorded in the subtle interplay of figure, glyph, and relief. They count the dead but honor the living, preserving memory across centuries and connecting humanity across time. The Tikal stelae endure as more than monuments. They are vessels of memory, devotion, and ritual. They embody the rhythm of life and death, the continuity of human intention, and the reverence for legacy. In their quiet presence, observers sense the pulse of the past, the weight of memory, and the enduring power of human effort. They remind us that even in silence, meaning can persist, and that careful creation can preserve the essence of life, far beyond the immediate moment. These stones, patient and solemn, carry the stories of kings and citizens alike, linking past to present, life to afterlife, memory to monument. They count the dead, yes, but they also echo with the energy of life, ritual, and human devotion, offering a bridge across centuries, an invitation to reflect, to meditate, and to connect with the profound legacy of the Maya civilization. And so, the stelae that counted the dead stand still, quiet yet commanding, silent yet eloquent, patient yet endlessly resonant, They are a meditation on memory, mortality, and human intent, a bridge across time, and a testament to the enduring desire to be remembered, honored, and connected, whispering the stories of Tikal to anyone willing to observe, reflect, and listen. The idol that slept beneath ice. For tens of thousands of years, the Venus figurine of Zoroaster lay beneath layers of ice, snow, and earth, hidden in the chill of the Russian plains, patient and silent, carrying secrets of the Upper Paleolithic that modern humans would only uncover millennia later. Carved from mammoth ivory, the figurine embodies both fragility and endurance, a testament to the skill, devotion, and ritual understanding of the humans who first shaped it. In its small, compact form, it holds vast meaning, a meditation on survival, fertility, life, and continuity, preserved against the slow, inexorable passage of time. Imagine the hands that created it, working in the dim glow of a fire, surrounded by the hush of winter winds and the distant cry of predators. Fingers, skilled and deliberate, pressed against ivory, smoothing, shaping, and exaggerating the essential forms, broad hips, rounded abdomen, small but significant facial features. Every curve, every indentation, every nuanced line was intentional, a reflection of the values, beliefs, and hopes of a people whose survival depended on understanding life, nature, and the cycles of birth and death. The figurine's design is symbolic. The pronounced curves suggest fertility, continuity, and nourishment, while its compact size implies portability, perhaps allowing it to accompany its keeper during migrations, hunts, or ceremonies. It was more than art, it was a companion, a talisman, a sacred object, infused with intention. Holding it, whether in ritual or contemplation, would have connected its owner to the greater rhythms of life, reminding them of both human fragility and resilience. Placed into snow, ice, or hidden beneath the frozen ground, the figurine endured centuries of stillness. The elements around it were relentless, yet the ivory resisted decay. Beneath the frozen layers, it lay in perfect quiet, absorbing the slow pulse of the environment, the subtle shifts of the ice, and the distant rhythm of the human settlements above. It waited, patient and enduring, like a guardian of ancient memory, silent yet full of presence. Imagine its discovery in modern times. Archaeologists carefully brushing away layers of ice and soil, revealing a small, pale form carved with astonishing detail. Despite tens of thousands of years, the figurine's lines remain clear, the surface smooth, and the proportions deliberate. Its survival demonstrates not only the durability of ivory, but the enduring significance of careful human creation. The Venus of Zoroaster, though silent, communicates across millennia, carrying messages of belief, ritual, and reverence. The artistry is profound. Even in its small scale, the figurine conveys balance, movement, and intention. Its curves, rounded and deliberate, communicate vitality, femininity, and life itself. Every line, every feature, every proportion is a reflection of careful observation of human form and symbolic expression. The figurine is a bridge between material and idea, between survival and spirituality, between practical life and ritual meaning. The environment it was created in shaped its significance. Harsh winters, vast plains, and the constant need for survival influenced the communities that produced such artifacts. Life was measured by the hunt, the fire, the shelter, and the care of children. The figurine embodied essential principles: continuity, fertility, protection, and the hope of enduring despite the precariousness of existence. It was an intimate companion, a focus of meditation, and a symbol of human resilience. Even beneath ice, the figurine absorbed the rhythm of its surroundings. The slow compression of snow, the glacial shifts, and the subtle changes in temperature all contributed to its silent presence. Time itself seemed to acknowledge the figurine, preserving it in a state of quiet reverence, ensuring that its message, intention, and form would endure far beyond the lifespan of any one human. The figurine likely had ritual significance. It may have been carried, displayed, or placed in ceremonial contexts, held during prayers, blessings, or rites of passage. Its presence would have been a reminder of life's cycles, of the need to honor fertility, survival, and continuity. Each handling added a layer of memory and energy, embedding human intention into the ivory itself. Over time, it became a vessel of quiet devotion, a witness to countless human gestures, hopes, and fears. As centuries passed, the figurine remained concealed. Civilizations rose and fell, the landscape shifted, ice expanded and retreated, and humans moved across the plains. Yet the Venus of Zoroaster endured, patient and silent, a repository of memory and meaning, untouched yet profoundly present. Its survival demonstrates the quiet power of careful creation, devotion, and symbolic significance. Holding the figurine in imagination evokes the pulse of its original world, the flicker of firelight in caves, the hum of conversation, the careful preparation of food, the footsteps of hunters across frozen plains, and the careful, deliberate acts of daily life. Each movement, each ritual, Each act of survival resonates within the figurine, layering meaning upon material, intention upon form. It becomes not merely an artifact, but a living connection to a distant past. The figurine's exaggerated features are not mere abstraction, they are deliberate, symbolic, and essential. Broad hips, rounded belly, and subtle facial features emphasize fertility, health, and continuity. The principles most vital to the survival of Paleolithic communities. Every aspect communicates care, intention, and understanding of life's delicate balance. Its form embodies lessons about endurance, patience, and reverence for what sustains humanity. Even in modern contemplation, the figurine conveys a meditative quality. Its presence invites careful observation, slow exploration, and reflection on the human condition. It teaches that meaning does not require noise or grandeur, that significance can reside in silence, and that human intention applied with care can echo across tens of thousands of years. Through millennia of concealment, the figurine remained a silent witness to the cycles of life, the passage of seasons, the rise and fall of glaciers, the movement of animals, and the rhythm of human settlements above. It carried the energy of its creators, the ritual acts performed around it, and the quiet attentions of those who valued its presence. Its survival is a testament to both the resilience of material and the enduring significance of deliberate, thoughtful creation. In ritual, one can imagine humans holding the figurine, whispering prayers or blessings, feeling its smooth surface, and acknowledging the essential cycles it represented. Perhaps it was placed in burials, carried on journeys, or kept as a talisman to safeguard fertility and survival. Each imagined action adds layers of meaning, transforming the figurine from mere object to vessel of memory, intention, and spiritual continuity. The Venus figurine of Zaraisk endures as more than ivory. It is a meditation on patience, devotion, and human continuity. It demonstrates that deliberate creation and intention can preserve meaning far beyond individual lifespans. Its curves, proportions, and subtle details speak of survival, hope, and reverence, carrying them silently across time to anyone willing to observe and contemplate. Its presence is meditative, encouraging reflection, slow thought, and consideration of life's cycles. The figurine embodies the intersection of human observation, skill, and spiritual intention. Each curve and line holds centuries of memory, lessons on survival, and devotion to continuity. Its message is quiet, profound, and timeless, connecting humans across ages through shared concern for life, fertility, and endurance. Even in its rediscovery, the figurine continues to speak, not with sound but with presence. Its form, proportions, and subtle details communicate a rich story of life, belief, and survival. It invites observers to meditate, reflect, and connect with a distant past, offering a bridge across tens of thousands of years, a reminder that human attention, care, and devotion can endure through silence. The idol that slept beneath ice remains patient and serene, small yet profound, silent yet eloquent. It carries within it the pulse of the Paleolithic world, the rhythm of survival, the devotion to life, and the enduring concern for continuity. Its story is quiet but resonant, a bridge between past and present, material and idea, mortality and meaning. In its quiet presence, the figurine teaches that some of the most essential lessons are preserved not in words but in care, in attention, and in deliberate creation. It demonstrates that beauty, significance, and devotion can transcend centuries, survive beneath ice, and continue to communicate across millennia to those who observe with patience and reflection. The Venus figurine of Zaraisk rests patient, timeless, and enduring, carrying the secrets of its creators across the ages. It is a silent guardian, a vessel of memory, a meditation on fertility, survival, and the quiet power of human intention. Its significance persists, a whisper through time, a testament to the care, devotion, and artistry of the humans who first brought it into existence. The amulet that walked through fire. The Scythian gold amulet lay quietly for millennia, a small but radiant piece of artistry forged in the hands of ancient nomads who roamed the vast steppe of what is now Ukraine. Shaped from gold, the amulet is small enough to be held in the palm of a hand, yet its presence is immense, a shimmering vessel of culture, belief, and power. It is called the amulet that walked through fire, for both its literal creation smelted, molded, and refined through flames, and its endurance through time, a survivor of human history, natural forces, and shifting landscapes. Imagine the fires that birthed it. A Scythian artisan skilled in the manipulation of molten gold, carefully poured, hammered, and sculpted the precious metal. Sparks flew, and smoke curled into the open steppe sky, mingling with the scent of horsehair, tanned leather, and the earth warmed by the sun. Every strike of the hammer, every fold of the metal, was deliberate, a combination of practicality and devotion, as gold was not merely material, but sacred, embodying the vitality, power, and essence of life itself. The amulet's design reflects a culture deeply attuned to symbolism, motion, and protection. Stylized animals, often deer, stags, or mythological creatures, seem to leap, run, and glide across its surface, as if frozen mid-step in an eternal dance. These creatures represent strength, agility, and spiritual guidance, reflecting the nomadic Scythians' intimate relationship with the natural world around them. Every curve and engraved line tells a story, a subtle visual language conveying ideas of protection, power, and continuity, understood fully only by those who lived within the rhythms of the steppe. Holding it, one can imagine its role in daily life and ritual. Perhaps it was worn around the neck or fastened to clothing, always close to the body, a talisman for protection against both physical and spiritual dangers. The amulet would have accompanied hunters, warriors, and leaders across the vast expanse of the steppe, witnessing the ebb and flow of human endeavor, from the quiet tending of herds to the thunder of horses across grasslands. It absorbed intention, belief, and the steady energy of daily life, becoming more than gold, a vessel of human spirit and presence. The creation of such an object demanded mastery. Gold had to be purified, carefully heated, and cooled. The metal softened just enough to allow intricate designs without cracking. Obsidian and bronze tools carved detail into the surfaces, etching motion, texture, and vitality into the miniature sculpture. The process itself was a meditation, a dance between human skill and natural material, fire and earth, shaping raw substance into an enduring embodiment of thought, intention, and artistry. The amulet's imagery often depicted animals in dynamic stances, mid-leap, mid-gallop, or twisting in flight, capturing motion in a way that defies the stillness of gold. Each figure communicates vitality and protection, a reminder that even in small objects, profound ideas and energy can be captured. These were not decorative embellishments alone, but intentional symbols communicating the power of the natural and spiritual worlds and ensuring the wearer remained aligned with forces that govern survival and prosperity. Time layered itself over the amulet. Buried in the earth, it endured floods, frost, and the slow drift of centuries. Each generation passed without knowledge of its presence, yet the gold remained untarnished, resilient to decay, holding within its warmth the imprint of hands that shaped it, fingers that guided molten metal with reverence and purpose. It waited silently, a guardian of the past, carrying the stories, beliefs, and intentions of a culture long vanished. Imagine the Scythians moving across the endless plains, horses' hooves thundering against the earth, the wind carrying whispers of distant mountains, the scent of grasses, the warmth of sun and fire mingling in the air. The amulet moved with them, a silent witness to their rituals, hunts, battles, and domestic life. It absorbed energy, becoming a repository of human experience, a tactile connection between individual, culture, and landscape. The artistry is mesmerizing. Despite its small size, the amulet communicates both complexity and clarity. The motion of animals seems to leap from the metal, each engraved line carefully considered to convey power, movement, and protection. The gold itself captures light, glowing warmly in the sun or firelight, reflecting a radiance symbolic of life, vitality, and the enduring essence of the nomadic people who created it. The amulet may also have held ceremonial importance. Perhaps it was offered in rituals, passed from leader to leader, or used to commemorate victories, treaties, or important hunts. Each act added layers of meaning, embedding human intention into the gold itself. Even without sound or speech, the amulet became a vessel of ritual, memory, and spiritual energy, silently walking through the fire of human life, witnessing generations, enduring both time and circumstance. Through the passage of millennia, civilizations changed, climates shifted, and landscapes transformed. Yet the amulet survived, a small radiant emblem of resilience, artistry, and continuity. Buried beneath earth, or hidden in burial mounds, it preserved not only material beauty, but the imprint of belief, intention, and human devotion. Its endurance demonstrates the quiet power of careful creation, deliberate thought, and symbolic significance applied with precision. When discovered in modern times, the amulet radiated its ancient energy. Archaeologists marveled at the detail, the precision, the care evident in every line and curve. The creatures engraved upon it seemed alive, frozen in motion, a snapshot of a world that thrived on harmony with nature, ritualized attention, and the pursuit of protection and prosperity. In its survival, the amulet speaks across millennia, connecting the modern observer with a distant past of skill, belief, and human endeavor. Even today, one can imagine holding it. Its warmth, its texture, and its form invite slow observation, contemplation, and meditation. It communicates without words, revealing lessons about resilience, continuity, and the power of deliberate creation. Its design embodies both beauty and function, protecting the wearer, inspiring reverence, and embodying the essence of a culture attuned to the movements of both land and spirit. Through every imagined ceremony, hunt, or journey, the amulet remained close, walking silently beside humans as they navigated the challenges of survival. It bore witness to triumph and loss, the mundane and the sacred, embedding each moment into its very being. Over time, it became a record, a memory, and a bridge across generations, holding the pulse of a vanished world within a single radiant form. The amulet that walked through fire is more than gold. It is a meditation on survival, artistry, and human intention. Its presence reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry vast significance, preserving belief, care, and energy across tens of thousands of years. It embodies patience, devotion, and the quiet power of creation, connecting the living and the past through form, material, and intention. Its enduring beauty, resilience, and symbolism make it a timeless artifact. It teaches that care, attention, and meaning applied deliberately can transcend the ages, that objects can hold stories, and that even the smallest creation can carry the weight of culture, ritual, and human connection. Its walk through fire was literal in creation and metaphorical in its survival, enduring centuries of history and continuing to speak in silence to those who encounter it. Even now, the amulet rests, small but luminous, patient and silent, carrying with it the energy, intention, and artistry of the Scythian people. It remains a bridge across time, a vessel of memory, a testament to resilience, and a meditation on the power of human creativity and devotion. Its significance endures, walking silently through history, whispering stories of life, survival, and belief across millennia. The amulet that walked through fire, patient, radiant, and enduring, is a reminder that even the smallest creation crafted with intention and care can outlast centuries, cultures, and civilizations, carrying with it the secrets, devotion, and artistry of those who first brought it into being. Its journey continues, silent yet eloquent, radiant yet humble, bridging past and present in a slow, luminous meditation on human life, ritual, and memory. The necklace that held the moon. The Sumerian gold necklace, known as the necklace that held the moon, rests as a testament to one of the earliest civilizations, quietly bearing the legacy of a world that existed more than 5,000 years ago. Crafted with gold and inlaid with precious stones, it radiates not merely brilliance, but intention, devotion, and the careful artistry of a culture attuned to both the heavens and the intricacies of daily life. Its form is delicate yet commanding, a vessel of symbolism, a bridge between the earthly and the divine, and a silent witness to the rhythm of life in ancient Sumer. Imagine the hands that shaped it. Artisans, working by lamplight, in the hush of early evenings, pressed their fingers against cold gold, bending and polishing it with tools sharpened from flint or bronze. Each link, each bezel, each tiny setting, was a product of painstaking care, a ritual act that elevated the creation beyond mere ornamentation. In shaping it, they connected not only with the physical material, but with the celestial bodies above, the life-giving river below, and the communities that would wear and revere it. The necklace's design is both symbolic and deliberate. Its circular form evokes the eternal cycles of life, the passage of the moon, and the movement of the cosmos. Pendants hang with quiet grace, each perhaps representing phases of the moon, celestial deities, or the harmony between earthly rulers and divine powers. The stones, carefully selected for color, shape, and brilliance, capture light in a way that seems almost alive, reflecting the glimmering luminescence of the moon itself. Wearing it, one would carry not just ornamentation, but a profound connection to the rhythm of the universe, a talisman bridging mortal life and divine forces. The act of creation demanded patience and devotion. Gold had to be refined, purified, and molded with care, each strand and link carefully soldered or twisted into harmony with the whole. Artisans carved intricate motifs, inscribed symbolic signs, and arranged the precious stones with intentionality, each choice a reflection of belief, culture, and understanding of both material and spiritual worlds. Perhaps a priest or ruler oversaw the process, ensuring that the necklace would not only dazzle but also fulfill its sacred purpose, channeling divine favor and protection. The Sumerians, living along the life-giving waters of the Tigris and Euphrates, integrated symbolism and celestial observation into their daily lives. The necklace that held the moon functioned as more than decoration. It was a focal point in ritual, a tool for mediation between gods and humans, and a symbol of continuity and authority. Its wearer would embody the cosmic order, carrying the weight of divine favor, social standing, and spiritual protection close to the heart. Time layered itself gently over the necklace. Buried in tombs or resting in sacred chambers, it absorbed centuries of human devotion and reverence. Despite the passage of millennia, the gold endured, retaining warmth, luster, and the subtle traces of careful craftsmanship. The stones, though worn, still shimmer faintly, as if reflecting the moonlight of an age long vanished. The necklace patiently carried its story through centuries of floods, political upheavals, and shifting sands, preserving in silence the essence of Sumerian thought, artistry, and spiritual life. Imagine the necklace in the context of ritual. Priests might have lifted it to the sky, chanting invocations to the moon goddess Nana, beseeching blessings for crops, fertility, and protection. Rulers, adorned in ceremonial attire, wore it to signify authority, divinely sanctioned rule, and alignment with cosmic order. Every movement, every ceremony, imbued the necklace with layers of meaning, weaving human intention and divine connection into its very form. It became a repository of devotion, a silent yet eloquent mediator between earth and sky. The artistry is astonishing. The fine granulation, delicate filigree, and careful arrangement of gemstones show a mastery of material that transcends simple skill. Each detail conveys intention. The placement of each pendant, the curvature of each link, and the subtle alignment of stones all communicate a narrative of cosmic harmony, social hierarchy, and spiritual devotion. Even centuries later, those who behold it can sense its rhythm, its energy, and the meticulous care invested in its creation. As time passed, civilizations rose and fell along the Fertile Crescent. The waters of the Tigris and Euphrates shifted, cities decayed and were reborn, yet the necklace endured. Hidden in tombs, safeguarded by descendants, or lost beneath shifting sands, it preserved the essence of Sumerian civilization. The moon it held symbolically continued its eternal cycle above, casting light on the steps of history, reflected faintly in the gold and gemstones, linking the past to the present in an unbroken chain of cosmic and human resonance. Holding it in thought, one can imagine its journey, from molten gold, shaped and polished by skilled hands, to ceremonial displays in temples, to resting near the chest of rulers long gone. Each phase layered memory, intention, and sacred significance into its form. Even now, it speaks of human attention, patience, and the enduring desire to connect with something greater than oneself. A bridge spanning time, mortality, and the divine. The necklace that held the moon embodies a meditation on human devotion, artistry, and the relationship between mortal life and the cosmos. Its circular design, delicate pendants, and sparkling stones are not merely aesthetic, they are deliberate, each element a symbol, a prayer, and a record of human intention. It teaches that beauty and significance emerge from patience, care, and alignment with something larger than oneself, that art and ritual can preserve memory and meaning across millennia. Even today, as archaeologists study it, the necklace evokes contemplation. Its quiet elegance encourages reflection on cycles of life, death, and renewal, and the enduring power of human creativity. Each curve, each gemstone, each link is a touch point with the past, a reminder that even small objects can carry vast significance, communicating across time, space, and human experience. Through imagined ceremonies, the necklace moves, lifted to the heavens, kissed by the moonlight, worn in celebrations of birth, harvest, and triumph. It absorbs intention, devotion, and the subtle energy of its environment, becoming more than gold, more than ornament, more than a symbol. It becomes a vessel of human thought, belief, and continuity. Its endurance through time teaches a profound lesson, that human attention, applied with care and reverence, can create objects capable of surviving millennia, preserving culture, spiritual insight, and artistry. It shows that even small acts of creation, carefully executed, can resonate far beyond their immediate moment, linking generations across thousands of years. The Sumerian gold necklace, patient and radiant, remains a meditation on cosmic and human order. It holds the moon, symbolically and metaphorically, reminding all who behold it of the cycles of life, the permanence of careful intention, and the power of beauty to preserve meaning across time. Its quiet presence continues to bridge past and present, earth and sky, mortality and eternity, speaking silently yet eloquently to those who pause to observe, reflect, and meditate on its enduring significance. Even as it rests in modern collections, the necklace retains its original essence, a shimmering bridge across millennia, connecting the ancient Sumerians' devotion, artistry, and understanding of the cosmos to the present. It whispers of life, fertility, authority, and ritual, inviting anyone who beholds it to contemplate the human desire to create, preserve, and connect with the eternal. The necklace that held the moon, patient, luminous, and enduring, teaches that even the smallest creation, when crafted with intention, care, and devotion, can outlast empires, civilizations, and centuries, carrying the energy, memory, and artistry of its creators silently through time. It remains a testament to human skill, cosmic awareness, and the quiet power of art as a vessel for meaning, reflection, and memory. Thank you for exploring these ancient mysteries with us. If you enjoyed this journey through time, please subscribe, like the video, and let us know where you're watching from. Stay curious, and we'll uncover more secrets together in the next adventure.